with the pledge led by Charles Stone, Intermediate Center Lighthouse.
Morning, guys. Good looking crew right there. There.
You guys start.
A quick picture with the board while you guys are standing and the kids. I'll tell you what, just guys, kind of just move. We'll just put you guys in. Right here.
Don't be shy, get in.
There you go. Scoot it. Scoot it. Over. There you go. All right. Ready? 1, 2. 1, 2, 3. All right. Thank you, guys.
Good job.
Item B, we'll take a moment for silent reflection. Thank you. On item C, meetings to note, board faculty meetings December 4th at Vernon and Sits Intermediate Center, 7:30 a.m. 4 or more board members may be in attendance. Board faculty meeting on December 4th also at Georgia Matthews Elementary School at 3:30. 4 or more board members may be in attendance. Board faculty meeting on December 11th at Edith Sherman School, 7:30 a.m. 4 or more board members may be in attendance. We have the Board of Education holiday party, December 16th at the Barron Steakhouse at 6 p.m. 4 or more board members may be in attendance. And then board faculty meeting, December 18th at Abe Hubert Elementary School at 3:30. 4 or more board members may be in attendance as well. On item D, approval of agenda with the following amendments. D1, additional certified and classified personnel actions for consideration. Item F3. D2, remove item F4D. The Board of Education is asked to consider and approve a quote for our school personal 1-year agreement in the amount of $21,068.10. And then item D3, remove item H4, box truck bid for nutrition.
Mr. President, I move we approve the agenda as amended. I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda as amended. Any discussion? All those in favor, raise your left hand. Opposed, same. Motion carries. On to item E, delegations, public comments. Any public comments? Everyone, a recognition of the Garden City High School Boys Cross Country Team, Matt Byer.
How are you guys?
Good.
Over here? Oh, there they are. Guys, get up here. Come on. Where are we going? Up here. Okay. This is Matt Byer. I'm the athletic director of the high school. Just wanted to give these guys a little bit of recognition in front of you guys here. They're the 2024 6A Boys State Cross Country Champions. This is our first cross country state championship for the boys, and they did a great job. You guys raise your hand when I call your names. These first 3, they're state medalists. So Trevor Fry, Hayden Nemechek is not here. He's playing basketball right now. Taryn Castro. I also just got told that these 3 were also all state. What'd you say it was? All state academic. So great job to those guys on the cross country course and the classroom as well. Jaden Smith, is he here? Not here. Okay. Elmer Argueta. Yep. Gabriel Acosta Martinez. Jacob Pameter. and Luis Martinez, and Yurli Gurula. So, and again, like I said, this was a really special team. They did a really good job as a complete team effort. And I think they kind of blew the competition out of the water. I think they won it by almost 40 points. So it was really awesome to see. And the eruption from these guys, I was clear down at the other end of down on the other side of the field. And when Coach L told them that they won, man, the excitement was unreal. So it was really cool to see that moment with them and their coach, and the happiness and all the hard work paying off. So, and again, recognize Coach L. She's sitting over there. She does not like to be recognized at all. But we are going to recognize her and Coach Algrim. And they do a great job with the team. So you guys want to say anything, or do I even let you guys say anything? No, you're kind of quiet. So, all right. So yeah, they did a really good job this year. So congratulations, boys.
Thank you for representing our city and our high school and making us proud. That's a great accomplishment for sure.
How many of you will be back next year?
Probably like, we're losing 2 seniors, so.
Just 2 seniors?
Yeah.
It's good then.
So. Yep. High expectations now, guys. So I'm gonna follow through, get to work.
Can I get a picture with the board and?
Coach L, you better get in there. All right, guys, get up here. Go.
Have to carry her up there.
The joke is the boys wanted me to put the picture of just Coach L in there, just her face. And behind that picture, there is a picture of Coach L's face.
Ready? 1, 2, 3. 1.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. Thank you guys. Congratulations.
Proud of you guys.
Congratulations.
Good job.
I know.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Hey, congratulations. That's wonderful. Congratulations, sir.
Good job. Proud of you.
Proud of you guys. Congratulations. Yeah, I did you so proud. Congratulations. That's awesome.
Okay, move on to item E2, a building presentation for Charles Stone's Intermediate Center. Andrew Lee.
Okay. I'm going to start off our presentation with our Lighthouse team. So some of our students who are on our Lighthouse team are here to present on their role at Charles Stone's and what they do on a daily basis, both during school and after hours. So can you switch over the... Okay, so
We're excited to be here and tell you all about our amazing student culture and plans for 2024 through 2025 school year. The Lighthouse team do many events with all of our student Lighthouse team. Through the Leader in Me initiative, we all actively leading activities that are designed to develop important leadership skills while creating a culture of respect and positive community. We are dedicated and hearing about everyone's impact and how they get here. Not just within our school, but also in assisting and shaping the future leaders of our community. We're proud to show you all our efforts for our school. A better community.
How we got here. I would like to share how we became members of the Lighthouse team at CSIC. First, the journey began when we filled out an application form and submitted it to Mrs. Venable form There are two school counselors, and Mrs. Venable interviewed each and one of us to get to know us better and understand our strengths. After the interviews, Mrs. Venable, Mrs. Gottschalk, and Ms. Myers scored each of our interviews and placed us into teams ranked from the highest to the lowest, creating and establishing a team of diversity and strength. We have a variety of students from different backgrounds and skill set coming to make a difference in our school. Our statement. Helping navigate through life's challenges and difficult times. Life is full of moments that are challenging. Our mission is to stand beside students during those times with support, encouragement, and guidance as they navigate through them. Together, we aim to turn challenges into chances for growth and resilience, ensuring that no one else feels alone in their journey.
Our goal this year. This year, we have some exciting goals for our school. We are focusing on leadership through projects, programs that will make our building a better place for everyone. Helping other students step up to be leaders and working together to learn from each other. We hope that our school will feel welcoming and a fun place in which everyone can feel safe and supported. It is important to us that we keep everyone in the loop as we make sure that staff, students, and families are working together. We show others what it means to be a good leader by setting examples for others to follow. Finally, we practice and share habits that will help us be responsible, respectful, and successful, like being proactive and working together.
The steps that we take to do events. We have several steps. We followed them when we're planning and hosting the awesome events that we hold at our school. First, we decide the date and make a solid plan for the event. Second, we write up a proposal letter to explain the details and share it with Mr. Lee. After that, we wait for Mr. Lee's approval, always having our fingers crossed. Once we get the green light, we jump into making everything official as we fill out forms for using the school building. We look for sponsors, and if we needed to make it, and if we needed to make permission forms for everyone, these steps ensure that we will be organized for our events, so we could be successful. Let's make it happen.
Events complete this year. This year we have made a few things happen. Here is what we've completed so far this year. First, we have been keeping our school informed through daily announcements on YouTube. We have had a blast during Spirit Week with fun themes and activities. It organized a movie night. It was a big hit. We also educated and supported others in an election with the help of Mr. Lee. We supported those in our building, helping Miss Stuckey with the canned food drive. And we got involved in other groups by helping out the robotics team and having a concession stand. We've already done so much. I can't wait to see what comes next.
Announcement.
I didn't know this.
Let me tell you a little about how our daily announcements are put together. First, we start by writing out our script. We try to do this at least 1 or 2 days ahead so we are prepared. Once the script is ready, we move on to recording the announcements. Sometimes it can take a little longer than we plan, but we always make sure to get it done on time so everyone can stay informed.
You guys didn't explain. The reason that there's a beard on there is because they voted in November as to whether I should participate in No Shave November. And so they said they needed a picture for the presentation, but you just used it to. Thought there was a legitimate reason.
No one likes them.
I know, but you all voted.
This year, we have two important goals we are working on. First, we want to make the school event more fun by giving them fun ways to dress up during important days. These are themed days where everyone can show their creativity and add school spirit. Second, we want to promote being drug-free. This means hosting events and activities to show how making healthy choices helps us stay strong, happy, and healthy. We work together to make these goals reality and successful.
Our movie night. Here's how we go about organizing and hosting a movie night. First, we decide on a date and time for the event. Next, we write a proposal letter to Mr. Lee to get his approval. Then we wait for Mr. Lee to review and approve the event. Once it has been approved, we then check how much money is in our account, figure out the supplies and materials that are needed, and finally get lists made and begin to organize. That is exactly why our movie this year was such a success.
This year, we got to participate in something very special, the canned food drive. Miss Stuckey, a fifth grade social studies and science teacher, has been organizing a 20-year tradition for the last few years, Thanksgiving basket giveaway. She says that this drive is all about supporting our students during the holidays. Our Lighthouse team stepped up to help Miss Stuckey alongside real men and real leaders this year. These baskets went to students who needed a little extra support to have a Thanksgiving meal. It feels great to make a difference and help others during such an important time of year.
Well, that's it for their presentation. You can stand up there.
What movie did you watch on movie night?
Despicable Me 4.
So I will continue to kind of talk about our school as a whole. But first, can we give a round of applause for these individuals? Minus the pictures you slid on in the presentation. So we have two goals at Charles Stone's. One is the goal carried over from last year, but it's hard to measure until you get to May. So our school has a goal each and every day for 80% of students to be actively engaged in class. And so that's kind of the motivating goal each and every day to hopefully then reach the goal of an increase of students achieving 3 and 4s on ELA math and science. We established a code of conduct this year. The code sides with what they were talking about when it comes to their student lighthouse team. So we follow respect, responsibility, and being honest and kind. We have a walk to intervention program. It's kind of cut off on the top there. Oh, not over here. Perfect. Okay. So it's 30 minutes in the morning and they support math and ELA. If students are kind of not needing that support, we have enrichments built in science, art, STEM, and PE. And so PE is not just they go and throw a ball around. We actually are having our PE teachers kind of dive deeper into different sports that students are interested in, learning kind of, we're even making, I don't know if any of you, did any of you do football? No. We tried to get some girls to play some football, you know, throw the football, run some routes. But the ones we put in there weren't very happy about it, but we tried. So kind of what makes Charles Stone's unique. So there's lots of things that make Charles Stone's unique, but some highlights would be our Rise Room. We do popcorn Wednesdays, so this helps our students in the Rise Room count change, interact with the gen ed population, and get them out of being in their classroom. They deliver all over the school. These students deliver their envelopes with money to their classroom. They pop the popcorn. Our school smells really nice on Wednesdays, if you like the smell of popcorn. And then the students are out by the end of the day, spreading popcorn everywhere and You can tell the students who eat popcorn before they leave because you can watch the trail as they leave the building. Another thing they just recently did with World Kindness is they were handing out little bags of candy and kindness stickers to classrooms. We have a newcomer program led by a really great teacher, and they just finished their presentations on their favorite animals, and they're new to the United States and new to our structure of the school system. So them standing up and presenting to gen ed population, myself, my assistant principal, my instructional coach, is really daunting for any student. And so they did a really great job with that. We have a wolf den that provides resources to students who need them on a daily basis. They just speak to the counselors or the main office. And then we have a wolf leadership room, kind of this year was done by Drew Tone. I'll give him a shout out, even though he doesn't need shout outs very often. But he got us the ability to have what we would call an ISS room with an ISS para and a school social worker. So Sydney Hess and Juan Vicente do a really good job of keeping our students in school and having a place to really get students back into the classroom. And it's been really successful and they do a really great job. After hours, we have 102 students participating in our after school program. So they do tutoring, snacks, and just kind of promote active lifestyle. They then get kind of split up into working on homework, robotics, choir, running club, Pokemon club. So we're trying to get it so that way students can be exposed to whatever they want to after school and stay busy, stay out of, making wrong decisions or, giving them something productive to do between that and their parents getting home. Running club, there's 3 students who have over 60 miles of running and we don't have a track, so they're running around the outside of the school. So that's some decent mileage for those students. We have great community support at Charles Stone's. Live Well does a really great job at the start of the school year with National Night Out across the street from our school. They always invite me to help hand out hamburgers and hot dogs. And they've also been able to help us get playground equipment, soccer goals, a backdrop for kickball. And just recently, the hospital had a soup drive or like a soup competition, and we had to go eat soup, and then they donated money for us. So it was a no-brainer for me. I went and ate soup, and I was paid. So they donated that money to our wolf den so we can continue to grow the supplies that are in there. And then Black Hills Energy, they're always willing to help in any way we need, but they always help at our end of the year cookout. And they do a really great job with that. They also help cook for National Night Out as well. This is our Lighthouse team, some of them. Not everyone's here, but we do have Kinley. And we have, let's see, now I'm on the spot. Aritzi is here. And we have, and these are just the presidents, or these are just the officers. We also have, you guys didn't introduce yourselves. So.
My name is Nancy.
Yep.
This is Camila. My name is Kinley.
My name is Ritzy.
My name is Solomon.
My name is Drifted.
So yeah, so there's, Stormy, how many do you have?
18 kids in total and 12 of them have some sort of office position.
So these are just a few of the ones that we voted on, but they all have responsibilities throughout the day. One of the things we started this year to kind of promote leadership is we started Wolfpack assemblies. And my hope is that when we have our board faculty meeting, that we're going to kind of shift when we actually have that meeting so you can see what goes on at our Wolfpack assemblies. But basically, we're trying to promote leadership all throughout the school. So clean rooms, leadership in the classroom, leadership in the hallways. There's a nomination QR code on posters around the school, and I send it out each week to staff in a link in our weekly update. And so then staff is nominated either by students, by outside people, by student staff, outside individuals. At any time, they just write in what they feel that person is doing to show leadership. students as well. And so there's a bunch of categories that they can select that are loaded onto the QR code that they can select and add to. And then they also write comments. And so then I read those comments aloud as those students are nominated. And then we have principal pack leaders. So as I'm doing walkthroughs and working with students and in the lunchroom and in the hallways, I notice students showing leadership and going above and beyond. So I recognize those students. Those students get to eat ice cream at lunch. They don't say anything to anybody. Somebody got ice cream today. So we try to promote leadership and have a good time. Our cafeteria also, our nutrition staff pays attention to students who are being polite and clean and doing what they're supposed to in the cafeteria. With close to 400 students pushing through lunch shifts, we need them to be orderly. So if we can just catch the ones doing the right thing most of the time, that kind of helps the other ones fall in line. So we have 4 per each lunch shift for 5th and 6th grade. They get a golden tray and they hold it and take their picture. And then McDonald's has given free ice cream cone coupons that we award them after that. And then we have the cleanest classroom and they get a golden plunger to put in their room. It's never been used. It's a brand new one that I spray painted. Students are really concerned about whether it's been used or not. They also asked if they can drink out of it. Did they not? Yeah, I don't know. We're developing some strange kids. All right. So they display that in their room and then the next day we come back. So like today, it's at the end of each month. They get donuts in their homeroom class in the morning for keeping it clean. We had our Thanksgiving meal on last Thursday and we had over 100 families at our lunch. I put the information in front of you, but it also was obviously sent out and I'm not going to go line by line, but there's the yellow components of each of the 5th grade ELA, 5th grade math, 6th grade ELA and 6th grade math, and actually science 5th grade is in there as well. Any of the areas that are highlighted in yellow are areas where we are at or exceed the district. And there are some areas of growth definitely for us. I feel like 5th and 6th grade math is an area that we're focusing on this year. There's areas that we can perform better there. IXL as a platform for students who kind of have gaps in their learning has been pretty successful with some of our classrooms. We don't have enough data yet to kind of put it in front of you, but teachers, I don't know if students are liking it, but they don't usually like too much work anyway. But teachers are enjoying it as a platform to kind of help fill holes and gaps in where students are struggling in math. But we're seeing great growth from our 5th and 6th grade ELA numbers. So that's really great. Another area that I included in the packet would just be kind of the difference when it comes to counseling data between sits and stones. There's kind of just a little bit more of a need and more of a concern or more of a demand for counseling services to be at Charles Stone's. They're pretty busy on a daily basis. And the added of the school social worker and the ISS para has helped. There are limitations to what they can do and how they can help. So I included that in there as well. But you can read through that in your own time. And then we end all of our Wolfpack assemblies with our mission, which is cultivating a positive community of leaders and critical thinkers. And so that concludes our presentation. Questions?
Yes, your English data has made some growth. I mean, that's
Yeah.
positive. How do you feel this year is going to go with that?
I think we're gonna do really well. I think last year we had a few teachers leave and new teachers come in this year. And we had a new teacher last year. This is now her 2nd year in the ELA world. We had a teacher who started in the ELA, teaching ELA April. And so now he's been able to like take the summer, start over again. So I think as far as, and those are two sixth grade teachers, I think we'll continue to see those numbers grow. I think our curriculum, I think our instructional coach is really great. Rhonda Soto does a phenomenal job. She deserves a lot of credit. And so, yeah, I think we'll continue to see those numbers go up.
That just takes time and then hyper focus on math this time around.
Right. I think that's what we're seeing right now is that like we were hyper focused on ELA with TNTP and what the instructional coaches were doing, and our walkthrough tools were all focused on essential questions and focusing on reading, the science of reading. So it's no shock that those numbers are going up. But with that, on the flip side, you know, math kind of took a back seat just because everyone was kind of focused on reading. But we have strong math teachers, and I think, again, like I said, the IXL program teachers are really it's obviously an online tool, so they don't use it as a teaching replacement. But we're finding holes in students' education when it comes to 5th and 6th grade. And so it's a nice tool to have to kind of bring those back online and closer to grade level.
I will say I was at the school there. My son was doing a robotics competition, and I like the way your mission and vision was presented right as you walked in the door. Signage was very good. I just want to compliment you on that.
I appreciate it.
Organized really well. So
Thank you. Thank you.
And who was responsible for the presentation? Pictures said so. One of the students. Good deal. Well, it's good to be able to have a good time. You'll be able to laugh. Okay,
Oh, yeah.
so good job.
Yeah, she stopped me in the hallway because we were going into Thanksgiving break, or fall break, and she wanted to have a picture before I shaved. And I thought there was gonna be like an explanation as to like the policies we were talking about. No, she just,
Policies.
yes, the policy of whether I should shave in
Oh, yeah.
November, yes. We had an election, we had M&Ms and Skittles as our presidential candidates, and then we had a policy of whether Mr. Lee should shave or not. And the highest vote at 93% was Mr. Lee continued to grow his beard. But, yeah. And then they made fun of me afterwards because they said it didn't look great. They were the ones that voted it, so it is what it is.
Well, who won M&Ms or Skittles?
M&M's won. Yeah, M&M's won. Which again, that one was closer. That was 51-49. So that was a close race. Yeah. The Skittles people were not very happy. That is a hard line between chocolate and fruit.
Mrs. Venables class took forever getting the results in, I'm sure.
Yeah, Mrs. Venables' class is hard. Yeah.
All right, guys, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
They'll come through here and get you a pin if you want, but
You can, if you want a pin, they're right here, okay?
Thank you. Good job.
Good job, guys.
Good job. Nice job. Just snuck in that picture. Huh? Good job. Good job, guys.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
nice, but you did good.
Yeah, sorry.
You're good. You're good.
Good. Appreciate it. Perfect.
See how you.
Yeah, he thought I was gonna talk for.
I'm just used to the two guys I know.
Used to those two.
Yeah, move on to item E3. Kansas Leadership Academy presentation, Suzette Goldsby Lewis, Principal at Plymell, Violet Johnson, Admin Intern at Horace Good, and Amber V. Hill, Teacher at Plymell.
You're talking to me. Thanks. I appreciate it.
Mhm.
We know better than that.
I'm Suzette Goldsby, and I'm the principal at Plymouth Elementary. I am also the liaison for the Kansas State Education Leadership Program. So I'm going to share a little bit about just what it is. And then I'm going to let Amber and Violet, they just completed the program in August, so I'm going to let them share a little bit about their experience. So a little bit about what it is. It is a 2-year cohort that we have with a partnership between K-State, Dodge City, and Garden City. Teachers have to fill out an application and get chosen to be a part of this program. And the purpose is to elevate teacher leadership, not necessarily becoming a principal, but that is an option that they can do. They would have to pass the practice and take a couple more steps. But ultimately, it's just to provide some teacher leadership throughout the district and in the individual buildings. They also, though, through this 2-year program, they end up with a master's in educational leadership. Currently, they have to take 2 separate classes, and then they could get their building leadership to be an administrator. That's in the works. That might change just a little bit, where they don't have to take those 2 extra classes, but that's kind of in the works right now. We do have sessions. It is here in Southwest Kansas, so they don't have to travel or anything. We have class either here in Garden City or in Dodge. We kind of alternate every other class. We do a few classes on Zoom where we're here on Zoom and Dodge is there on Zoom. Usually in December and January, just to kind of make sure that the weather holds, so we don't have to worry about traveling during the winter. The curriculum that we use is all aligned to the NELP standards, which is the education leadership standards. And then we have it's not a set curriculum like a textbook like you would typically have when you go to a class. But we pick books that are pertinent to what's happening right now that align to those standards and align to the classes that they're taking. So it's a lot more of a practical learning and application as far as the textbooks and that goes. Every student has a mentor either in their building or somewhere within the district. So when they're doing a special project, which I'll share a little bit about here in just a second, they don't just have the liaisons that are teaching the classes, but they have someone within their building or within the district that can help them and guide them along the way. As far as the faculty, Dr. Donna Augustine Shaw is our liaison and facilitator from K-State. She does come out here, not every time. Sometimes she Zooms in and sometimes she's on campus about 4 times a semester. And then I am the liaison for Garden City, and then Dodge City has 2 liaisons. So there's 4 teachers, and then each semester there's 4 books. So we each kind of take a book and teach that. The special project is a big piece of this 2-year program. So they start selecting the project, thinking about what they want to do, and then the second year they actually implement the project. And it really allows for them to develop those responsibilities as a leader. And it could be a project within their building or something that serves the district. We have had several in the past that have done like a new teacher training. So that served the whole district. We've had ones that just did something within their building that helped their building, and it's kind of up to them and their mentor and that to kind of decide on. But it really does have to go above and beyond their regular job assignment. So, and they're going to share a little bit about that here in a little bit, so I won't go too far into that. But they do have to demonstrate performance skills that they've developed across all of those standards by the end of the 2-year program. The project also allows for them to show what they've learned, and they have to talk about what they've learned, their disposition that they've learned through the cohort. And a few of the special projects that we've had is new teacher training. We had a person that was the district Leader in Me coach and kind of the head of the Leader in Me coaches through the district. High school building PLCs, they rearranged all of their PLCs in their cohort, in their building, and kind of revamped those and everything. And then we've had some that were more based on curriculum implementation. So we have had 3 cohorts so far. The first one was in 2016, 2018. Leanne Roderick was actually here, and she was the one that was the liaison for that one. At that point, there were 23 teachers that went through it, 11 from Garden and 12 from Dodge, so pretty split there. I took over in 2018, and we had 16 teachers go through the program then, 10 from Garden and 6 from Dodge. And then the one that we just completed in August, we had 15 teachers complete the program, 7 from Garden and 8 from Dodge. We are starting a new program. We were going August to August, but that kind of allowed when they finished their degree to get everything turned in to the business office. It gave them like a week and a half, and there wasn't a very big timeline there. So we've kind of changed it and pushed it back. So now we're starting in January. So they will be able to finish in May and not be as rushed to kind of get everything done and on their license and things like that. Currently, I don't have it on here because I made this before. We just took applications, and as a cohort, we have 18 members for this next upcoming program. And these are just a couple of pictures of the 2 graduations. We do have a graduation. They can attend the graduation at K-State, but both of the programs that I've been a part of wanted to have a more intimate graduation so their families and that could come. So we got together as Dodge and Garden and just had a little graduation ourselves, which was always kind of fun.
So I'm Violet Johnson, and I've been the band director for the middle schools for 13 years. And this year I started now as an admin intern and the athletic director for Horace Good Middle School. When I entered the Leadership Academy, full of excitement and eagerness to learn about leadership, I realized I had been too comfortable in my environment and became focused on absorbing as much information as I could. Once I was accepted into the academy, I was encouraged to step out of my comfort zone and was recommended for any and all leadership roles available. I was welcomed into the BLT, focus groups, asked to present at multiple board meetings, just to name a few. Once I was seen in a different light, the leadership opportunities came often. I was the event coordinator for Horace Good, building in-service activities, site council, teacher retention team, and other committees. With everything that I became involved in, I realized that I had to rely on people, listen, and learn. I realized then that true leadership is demonstrated by maximizing all resources available. With all the new leadership roles I was taking on inside and outside of my building, I had to get to know people outside of the music world and integrate myself with educators throughout the district. My coworkers and leaders within the district that I had grown to know personally started to enlighten me professionally. During my time in the program, my focus was to demonstrate excellence in scholarship, commitment to service, and obtained a deep alignment with the Academy's core values. I translated my learning into practical, real-world applications that evaluated my effectiveness as both an educator and as a leader. Within my role at USD 457, I have supported student success by spearheading initiatives that enhance the learning environment for all. My commitment to fostering a positive learning environment underscores my passion for education and my dedication to meaningful growth for both students and educators. In conclusion, I am deeply grateful for the opportunities Kansas State University Leadership Academy and USD 457 has provided me. I believe my academic achievements, service to the College of Education, and contributions to our school district exemplify the values upheld by this academy.
Hi, I'm Amber V. Hill, a second grade teacher at Plymouth. My presentation isn't gonna be quite that elegant, but there's a lot of different reasons why I chose to join the KSU Leadership Program, partly because I'm only 5 years in on my teaching career, and so I figured if I was gonna get a master's degree sooner would be better rather than later. And also I just don't know how to not be busy all the time. The professional relationships and friendships that I developed through the KSU Academy have paved the way for me to meet and work with district admin and other school admin that I wouldn't have otherwise had the opportunity. We've built connections with Dodge City teachers and admin that is going to be very useful throughout our careers. There's a lot of real world application through the current and the useful books that they use at the academy. Like Suzette said, it's not like a set textbook. It's 4 books each semester and each teacher teaches 1 book. So some of the examples would be learning by doing, and I didn't add the authors' names, but how good people make tough choices, crucial conversations. That one was a tough one.
Yeah.
The 4DX, the 4 disciplines of execution for educators, which is kind of the base for Leader in Me. So that had a lot of input and connection to my school in particular. But there was just so many books that we were able to use in everyday PLCs and everyday meetings and in our own classrooms that really made everything we were learning relevant. The self-confidence and the leadership skills that I learned from this academy drove me to become more involved with the GCEA. I have an executive role with them now, and I was on the negotiations team last year, and I intend to be on the negotiations team again this year. I wouldn't have done that if it hadn't been for the academy, if I hadn't needed to step up in leadership. And I've also stepped up within my building for leadership as well. And I probably wouldn't have done that. I would have just stayed in the 4 walls of my classroom and been happy and content. But we need leaders in this district, and this is the program that is going to make leaders for us. So key takeaway, 10 out of 10 would recommend this program to anybody who wanted to join. So.
All right, that's all we have for you guys. You guys have any questions for us?
Appreciate it.
Yeah, just a comment. Appreciate what you guys do. And yeah, you're right. We need leaders, world needs leaders. So stay engaged. Thank you.
We're excited. We walk the stage Friday, December 13th. So it's gonna be a good day and we're gonna represent Garden City well, so.
Thank you.
Good job, Greg.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Move on to item F, the consent agenda.
Mr. President, I move to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your left hand. Opposed, same. Motion carries. Item G, board reports. D1 WE survey through Tone HR.
So, a few of you have asked about the WE survey. We've never officially presented our WE survey to the Board of Education that I'm aware of. What the WE survey is, it's our workplace environment survey. We've been doing a form of the WE survey. I can track back until the files that I have all the way back until 2009. We've been doing some form of this in one form or another. The specific one that we do now, the specific survey that we do now, we've been doing since 2018-19, since the 2018-19 school year. So we've been doing this a while, and I was talking with Randy a little bit, and he had mentioned that he's never actually seen a formal report on the WE survey or the data from the WE survey. So we thought we would put together, I promised everyone I wouldn't talk too long because they believe I'm a long talker, but we put together some comparison data. So we do this twice a year. We do it once in the fall, we do it once in the spring. This is our fall 2024 WE survey results on the right. Our fall 2022 WE survey results are on the left. And we're just, as a comparison, I went back to 2022 because in 2020, we had COVID. I didn't think that was a very apt comparison because we're getting ready to go into COVID. So when I show you guys this data from the spring, I want to use kind of comparative data. And then before that, the survey was a little bit different. So the data that we have, the questions were a little bit different. So when we go back and look at those questions, they're not really comparable questions to the current questions that we have. So looking at 2022 compared to 2024, some of the things that I want to highlight, number one, nobody likes central administration. It's just, when I was a teacher, I didn't like central administration either. So we kind of get used to that. But the thing that I will say is, in looking at the data, when I look at data, oftentimes I like to look at the very top and I like to look at the very bottom. One of the very promising things about I feel valued by central administration in 2022, that was 10%, strongly felt like central administration strongly valued them. In 2024, that rose 10% all the way to 20%. So that, I believe, is very strong growth. As you go through this, and I won't go through every single one of them, one thing that I would really like to highlight is our building administrators and our buildings. Building administrators I don't think oftentimes we do the justice in thanking them for what they do, because as you go through this, we have great teachers. You're going to find out we have great teachers because they value their coworkers. You're going to find out that we have great custodians because our custodian numbers on the cleanliness of our building has skyrocketed. You'll see that, between the cleanliness, the school safety, the coworkers and teachers, all those numbers are up. But the biggest thing that we've seen is a dramatic increase in building administration. Our building administration has done a phenomenal job in the things that they've been able to do. And we're starting to see that from our employees, with responses from our employees talking about it. Example, building administrators, obviously feeling valued by your building administrator. That's a +7 in the strong category. That's a 93% of building administrators feel, teachers and employees feel valued by their building administrators. So 93%, that's a big number. As you go through this, I feel valued by my coworkers. We were pleasantly surprised by this. This obviously goes to workplace culture, retaining, whether it's teachers, custodians, paras, cooks, whoever it may be in that building, the workplace environment for these people. We're seeing a strong increase in the amount of people that strongly agree with that sentiment. I feel valued. As we go on, I feel valued by my students' parents. This was kind of a surprise, especially in today's climate and culture. We hear a lot about teachers feeling undervalued by parents, teachers feeling undervalued by students. One thing that we can point back to in the data is our teachers are improving their relationship with parents and improving their relationship with students, because we're seeing that they feel more valued today than they did in 2022 by parents. We're seeing today that they're feeling more valued by students than they did in 2022. So I won't go through, and you guys can go through and see. You guys, if you look at the strongly agreed, you'll see that number increasing significantly. You'll see the other numbers decreasing. Again, the thing that I'll highlight is our building administrators. When you look at the strongly agree or agree, when you talk about them being approachable, 95% of our teachers feel like our building administrators are approachable. 91% of our teachers and employees feel like our building administrators do a good job at communicating, which that's always a very, very difficult thing to do, especially in buildings the size of buildings we have. Innovation, our teachers feel like they're supported by their building administrators. 92% feel like they're supported by building administrators. 97% of teachers feel like they are strongly, or they are either they agree or they strongly agree that they are respected by their building administration. So those are all huge things. We know that retention, the recruiting problem and the retention problem, it all starts with retention, and those numbers for us, we hope to see this pay dividends in the springtime with people leaving. We hope to see less people leaving because they are at the building level. We know that's where the greatest impact on a teacher is going to be. So we hope that these things pay dividends in the spring. For central administration, even though a lot of people don't like us a lot of the times because that's the nature of it, we did see significant growth as well. We saw major growth in respect. Respect was up 13% for us. We saw major growth in approachability. That was up 9%. Overall, everybody, whether it's administrator or building administrators or central office administrators, we're seeing a pretty significant increase in that strongly agreed category. Some other things that I would be remiss if I didn't point out. I talked about parents and students treating employees with respect. That number is significantly increased. Behavior. Behavior is something we have to continue to deal with. We have to continue to address student behavior constantly because we're seeing nationwide that student behavior, they're becoming more severe behaviors and more often. So that is something that we have to continue to address. The WE survey speaks to that, even though we are seeing that our teachers feel like they're more supported with student discipline and principals are doing a better job, according to the WE survey, with student discipline. It's one of our lower numbers, so that we know we need to continue to address student behavior and student discipline. Another thing that we've got to continue to address as a leadership team and as a central office, obviously communication. Our teachers and our employees, they need to feel like we're doing a better job with communicating. We always can do a better job with communicating. So finding out ways that we can do those things and be better at communicating with those teachers and keeping teachers and employees in the loop and making sure that they're not caught off guard or they're made aware of everything that they need to. That's one of our things that we need to work on. And then allowing teachers to innovate. Our teachers, and I think I'm not making excuses. I think this is a thing nationwide. I think teachers feel like we're boxing them in with a lot of the canned curriculum that they use. There's arguments for it. There's arguments against it. But one thing that we have to find a way to do is how can we appeal to those teachers and allow them space to be innovative as teachers? How do we do that and allow that innovation? For building administrators, like I said, everything that they had showed growth. The lowest growth that they had was 7% growth, and that was based around student discipline. So continuing as a district leadership team, as building leadership teams, and as teachers, how do we work together to address fixing student behavior and getting on a better path with student behavior? Probably one of the more impressive things that we don't often talk about with you guys and that we should probably highlight more, not just highlighting because he's here, but Brandon's here today. Building cleanliness was one of the highest rated things that we had as a district. Our buildings are very, very clean. Our custodians do a phenomenal job. They're held to a high standard. There's a lot of expectations that Brandon and his team put on our custodians, and they do a great job meeting those expectations and going above and beyond to do that. And our employees notice that. You know, when you look at these results, our employees really notice it. So, school culture, you know, we talk a lot about school culture, the conversation is in education. You know, it's Maslow over Bloom's. You have to deal with the students and making them feel safe and secure and wanted and trusted and believed in before you even worry about the educational piece. You have to have that culture in your building. And I think what we're seeing with the growth of school culture in these, when you go through and you dig into the data, what you're going to see with Leader in Me, capturing kids' hearts, you know, whatever may be happening in different buildings, you're going to see that those things they're going to start to pay dividends in test scores because students feel safe, they feel secure, they want to do well, they want to do well for their school, for their teachers, for themselves. Just that pride that they have in school and in the education process, I think is going to pay dividends. So, told you I wouldn't talk long. Josh, how long was it?
11 minutes and 10 seconds.
I told myself 10 minutes. Any questions?
Is there, you know, when I was running for the school, the disconnect between admin and teachers is something that I heard a lot about. And like veteran teachers, like it's not a new thing. So like this is a fairly new administration. So they're talking about things that happened 10 years ago. Is there like any like just brilliant light bulb idea that we can use to bridge that? Or is it just something that's a basic?
I think trust is just earned over time. I mean, to be honest with you, there are things we can do. We can go out and deliver popcorn more, you know, from get the popcorn popped and do nice things and feed them breakfast and all those things. But I think honestly, real solid, true trust is just built over time and showing people that you care, that they're valued, that you want to be a part of what they're doing, and then they want to be a part of what you're doing. And as a group, you're going to do it all together. So I that's what I would say. I mean, there's things in the meantime. There's the small things that make people feel valued and make them feel like they're a part of the team and you're a part of their team and you're helping drive the bus in the same direction. But I truly believe that it's something that over time, as people feel valued, people feel trusted, you know, they feel like they can come to you as an administrator, whether it's a building administrator or a district level administrator. It's just having that relationship that they can come to you and have those conversations.
I think you hit on it in your presentation. I think communication and over communication helps build trust.
Yeah.
Is this mandatory? And what was the percentage of people that filled it out?
Not mandatory. It should have numbers on there. On total, 429 out of 1,200 filled it out. In 2022, that was 503 out of roughly the same.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
All right, item H, new business, H1, plant facilities, water source discussion, Director of Plant Facility, Brandon Anderson.
Evening, board, and before I get started, thanks for the accolades, but I don't deserve any of them. I'll pass it along to staff and visit with head custodians. They shared that information with me too, and really pleased. I've been super stoked to visit with our head custodians, the two meetings that we've had, and those ladies, we happen to all be ladies that are head custodians, and they take a great amount of pride in their facilities, and it shows when you go tour it. So thanks. I'll pass that along. So first item that I'm up here to visit with you about today, good old KDHE inspector came to visit Plymell and Jenny Barker, and while he was at plant facilities office, decided to use the bathroom and realized that we are on well water there, and made us aware that if we have more than 25 individuals working out of that building, that we are basically a public water supply and should be doing the same thing at Plymell and Jenny Barker, that we should be doing the same thing there at plant facilities and registering that well with KDHE and monitoring it and staying on top of it. It's currently not chlorinated. We don't use it for drinking out there at this point. So We looked at that then and then taking his advice and basically his advice is that we get moved over to the city water supply. And so we looked at that, that well, was there before our building was there. I think it was drilled in 76. I think that information was in your packet. And the cost to move over to city would be the city fee to set a 1-inch meter would be $3,420. Then we've got 2 quotes in your packet as well. One from RJ Plumbing of $49.37 to plumb from the meter into the building and get us ready to go. The other one from Petro for $8,997. So roughly, if you took a little bit of that and the city fees, if we were to put plant facilities on city water, which would be outside the city limits, so we'd be charged double the fees of inside the city limits, but you'd be looking at roughly $8,500 about to get it up and going and ready. Don't know exactly what estimated, what the cost of drilling a well would be. Ken Kerr said he thought when we re-drilled the Plymel well, it was around $50,000. It's 300 foot, the well that we're dealing with right now. Certainly that's an option we can look into now, but for y'all's consideration and kind of thought process and looking for advice on what y'all think we need to go on our water supply at their plant facilities. Questions? We have 28 full-time employees working out of there. 30, not counting custodians, but 2 of those are based out of at the high school. But like those 2, we've pulled back 2 plant facilities for the winter months. And they're working out of there. So technically we have 30 now. I don't know, if you shifted those numbers, whether that's something that KDHE would be happy with, but it was brought to our attention by the inspector. And KDHE is always one of those. I learned the hard way early on in my job as city administrator that, you need to learn to work with them instead of work against them. They kind of have the hammer. But questions, thoughts, what do y'all think?
I got it, Mr. President. Questions. I have a couple questions just because I don't know, but what would you think your monthly water usage would be?
We just use it. Obviously, right now we have it hooked up and use. We have a wash right that we wash vehicles in. We would keep that well. I would hope to be able to do that. But after that, it's just for bathrooms. And then if we were able to get it where it was off the city water supply, we could drink the water out there too.
That was going to be my other question.
I would max of 5,000 a month, I would think. So roughly the water bill, if you look at the city site and pull it down, it's double the in-town rate. It's like base of 52.92, and if we use 5,000 gallons a month, that'd be another 31.20. So 84.12 a month. So 1,200 a year if you're rounding up.
That was a question I had. So you'll be able to keep the well. We can
Yes.
keep it just.
Yeah.
How far does the city line come out towards you guys? I know it's
right out in front. It's in between, in front of plant facilities, there's a gravel portion and then it turns to pavement. And then, so it's in between that gravel portion and the highway.
so it's right there.
Yeah, well, it's, in between those 2 roads. The city would trench through the gravel road, and then set that meter in our front yard.
And then this bit takes it from the meter then to the structure.
Yes, it plugs it in. Yeah.
Is there a cost for the city to run their portion of it or?
Yeah, the city portion would be $3,450.
Oh, that was that. Okay,
Yeah.
I got you.
3,420, sorry.
You ready for a motion?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. I'll make the motion that we go ahead and connect to the city water source out there at plant facilities.
Do we want to, set one, it's, yes, be specific on the bids.
Do we need to do that, specify which bid? Do we need to specify which bid for them to go with?
Technically, they're both quotes of less than $20,000. So, I mean, and I'm gonna use the lower quote.
Get a motion? Is it seconded?
Yeah, John seconded.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to move forward with the connect to the city water supply at plant facilities. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, raise your left hand. Opposed, same. Motion carries. H2, Brandon's back again with capital projects update and discussion.
Yeah, and Drew's gonna step up here and also want to introduce a gentleman that's here, Justin Wall. He's the regional account representative with Centurion Industries and Alert Roof System. He's got a presentation, but I think there's some conversation we want to have first about, he's got a presentation on the technology. When I came to y'all and talked to you about the roof projects on our long range plan, for this year, Plymel is one that's on there. We had an A&E services agreement that we presented to you for roughly a ballpark of 351 to 373, if I'm remembering the numbers right, plus the architecture fees on top of that. The other thing that we've realized, and one of the things we ran into at Plymel and looking at it, is there's electrical conduit on that roof that's going to be a little more costly. So when we accept bids, when they are putting the roof in around that electrical conduit, and obviously you run risk of every time you have an opening, making sure that you get that sealed right. That would be a little bit of an extra increase, I think, in the overall cost. But then also we thought about rerouting that electrical and putting it underneath the roof. And that's probably a pretty substantial cost. We're thinking about 75 to 100,000. I'm working on getting a number for that, but I haven't got it back to this point. Haven't been able to get someone out there to take a look at that and give me a quote. So all that in mind, if we went the A&E proposal route that's in your packet that was originally presented to you, we'd be looking at over 400,000, probably 450, to get that project done. Now, granted, with the alert system that we may take a look at, we would still have to take some HVAC products off the roof, reroute the gas line. The electrical could stay there though, and this would be built over that. So those are kind of, that's what we're bringing to you this evening. But the bigger conversation, I think, is kind of where we are on those long range plans with the properties and the 4 schools that have been in discussion for quite some time. I think even during that discussion the last couple of years, I think there's been some deferred maintenance on those particular buildings. So when we say they're on the list to be worked on, they were probably slow rolled onto that list too. So they're on that long range plan because it's their time to come up and have some work done. So total projects on that long range plan, for instance, at Plymel, when we look at the roof, we look at some HVAC improvements, some flooring improvements, and then also the fire alarm needs to be upgraded, which I think needs to be done irregardless. You know, we're looking at about a total of 1.2 million out there that we would be doing on Plymel this next summer. So that's kind of where we're at. We need a decision or kind of some guidance from, and certainly on the roof, we can continue to patch and make it by. The alternative that we've got, and you've got that packet in there, is about $290,000 to put an overbuild over the top that's going to last. And he can talk more about his product, but at least 20, 30, and he'll tell you 50, I think is what he would tell you. But it's a neat technology too, and while we've got him here tonight for information's sake, I think we always need to look at bang for our buck. And so if the board is still interested, we could take a look at his technology anyway and let him give a presentation while he's out here tonight. So throwing that out for your guys is a little more guidance on how we head right now, especially on this Plymouth project. Thought you were done with this conversation for a little while, weren't you?
Brandon, is the area that's leaking out there part of this project?
The area on Plymouth roof, yeah, the problematic area is in the middle, the real problematic area is in the middle. We've got more than 5 or 6 leaks out there. I mean, we've got one office that we don't even bother to go put the tile back in, and it's pretty unsightly for that lady. And if we're doing, proper building maintenance, I mean, it really, when you go to looking at continuing to patch versus going ahead and breaking down and making an upgrade, you're probably at that point. So that's why this conversation needs to be had.
So I think it was clear. So the direction we need from you guys is we have our long-range facility plan that's been approved. That has everything lined out in that long-range facility plan. We just need direction from you guys with those buildings obviously being in, next up in that long-range facility process. Do we fix it like we're moving forward, or do we patch it to get by? What's kind of the next? We just need direction from you. Do we fix it and move forward like it's the long-range facility plan that we've approved, or do we put a pause, patch, fix as well as we can, and move it on down the road?
What buildings are on there for roofs for this summer?
This year, it's Plymouth, the road.
Just Plymouth.
Of the 4 schools that
Of
we're
the
in
4
conversation.
We got Plymouth, and it'll be
It is the only
the
one.
early childhood center, and
Bernadine sits. You guys have approved sits. We've already moved forward. Just a quick update. That scan was done this past Tuesday, so we'll have the results back on that scan.
It's on here.
Interesting thing about that scan technology, it's very difficult to get somebody to come out and do that scanning, but I think it's something I'm anxious to talk with the architects and get their input, but I think it's something we could move in-house and start scanning. Andy, you may know more about that, but the scanning, it was a really interesting time for me to be on the roof and watch what that guy was doing, but I think it's something we could move in-house and do it better. Just like I was talking about last time, those HVAC specialists, when we're up there on that roof, just do more preventative maintenance on our own.
When we talk about patching versus doing the whole roof, how long are we talking? You think that would work? In other words, will it, you talk about an office where we have a lot of water apparently leaking in it. Is that going to take care of that?
Well, I'll tell you
How long will it
the
take care
difficult
of
thing
that?
about patching flat roofs that we're dealing with, we can go and chase that same leak 3 or 4 different times because they have such a different way of how they can leak and where the leak actually shows up versus where the weakness is in the rooftop. So that's a challenge. So we stay on top of all that all the time. You're talking about a coating. I mean, you could come in and do a coating that's going to gain you 5 or 10 years, I would think minimum. But this roof area that we're looking at in the middle of that building, there's an old drain and there is a substantial amount of damage and a very weak spot that we need to address.
Does it affect the structural soundness of the building, other than just in the roof area?
I would say in that area, I get nervous walking on it, but I don't think the structural soundness is in danger. And we've got a great independent opinion here tonight. He can give us that when he comes up here. Good question.
Do we think there's an ROI if we do the roof, if we sell the building 2 years from now, is there?
I think anytime you put a new roof on an old building, especially one of that age, I mean, your return on investment's better. I'm not going to tell you you're going to get paid back for it.
Is the age of that roof one that's gonna be affecting our?
Insurance.
Mhm.
I think you want.
I don't know the age off the top of my head. I think it's close to 35 years as of now, if not 38.
There's not very many roofs that we have that are kind of in that conversation, unfortunately.
What about the gymnasium portion? I see it's not in the contract. Do we have an idea what it would take to?
So it's in pretty good shape. It's got a metal roof on it. I don't know how long ago it was. I didn't bring that information.
And it's not a flat roof either.
Yeah,
on
it's
that
a
gymnasium.
I just thought I heard conversation that the gym roof was leaking at some point.
Outside, right where it connects. That's where that connects is the gym and then where all that damage is right beside the gym there. I'm not aware of any leaking inside the gym. Hey, were you raising your hand?
Oh, no.
Okay.
I have been all over the roof, so I am eager to talk about it, but I'll take my turn.
Well, I'm definitely of the opinion that on any of our buildings, we need to be addressing building maintenance needs and doing them in the right way. And however, I think that the conversation for Plymel, Jenny Barker, and Gertrude Walker really needs to be had in regard to grade reconfiguration. And I think the right thing that I think we should do is do repair work to this roof this summer and ensure that we've got a couple of years of to fix the leaks. I don't think that putting $300,000 to $400,000 into this roof is the right thing for us at this point. When we talked obviously in detail, as we talked through the grade reconfiguration and why these schools, there's multiple reasons why Plymel is one of the schools that was looked at for being closed. If we go spend this much money right now to put a brand new roof on this building, we won't get it back. I don't think we'll get pennies on the dollar back on it if we go to sell this building. I just don't think that's the right thing to do right now. I think as we talked about, if we are to do grade reconfiguration and do it in a way that doesn't require a bond issue, part of that plan was the savings of capital outlay out of the other buildings. And $1.2 million for Plymel this summer would definitely whittle into that and affect that whole cost formula. So I don't want to see us have water leak issues for our teachers and our students. But I also think that there's temporary things we could do there this year to get far enough, get our new superintendent hired, readdress the question of grade reconfiguration. And after that discussion is had, if Plymel is a building we keep as an education center, then by all means, let's dive into this. Let's figure out the right solutions for the roof and other things that are needed there and any other buildings that we kind of put a pause on. I believe that particularly for those three schools, Jenny Barker, Plymel, and Gertrude Walker, we should put a pause on capital outlay projects for those schools for the next year or two until this grade reconfiguration question is put to rest.
If we resealed the entire roof, and you said that would be maybe a 5-year fix, like approximately, what do you think that would cost?
I didn't get those calculations. I can get them for you though.
To answer your question, it's a 1999 roof.
1999?
So even if we just patch the roof, we still have other maintenance that needs to happen. Like definitely the fire alarms, that's a no-brainer. I mean, that's a gotta happen deal. What else was it? Carpet, you said?
flooring, fire alarms, HVAC and roof.
And you're saying, don't do any of that?
I think we do what's I think we do the essential things that are necessary. You know, we walked that school, the carpet, wasn't in as bad a shape as I thought it was going to be when I walked into it, from what I had heard about it. I'm sure there's some areas that we need to replace, but I wouldn't, I didn't see anything to me that seemed like we had a problem we needed to deal with there. From what I've heard on HVAC, even though we had done plans before to replace the HVAC in that building in its entirety with a VRF system, it's basically a combination of several furnaces and I think they're all in, I mean, there's some maintenance things that need to be had, but they're operating and continue to
We'll have
operate
a
well.
report too on the condition of those two. We had Ungers go out during this Thanksgiving break and service all of the units.
So how would you say, what's the condition of the HVAC at this point?
Haven't gotten their report back yet, but our initial is, you know, knowing where we're at with it, I wouldn't recommend you want to put a totally new system in. In our tour with the architects, when we went down and went through there and my staff, discussion was had about going back with a similar system. We've got one unit that's running 2 rooms and trying to maybe add a unit that would run so that each room would be on its own, you know, thermostat essentially, similar to what we've got on the other campuses, but just not the top of the line VFR system or VRF system. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm not even sure VRF is necessarily the right fit for that building. I think the systems that are there now with a few tweaks is probably the best setup for that building. But if everything's working in good condition, I don't think we make any changes there. We just make sure everything's continuing to operate like it's supposed to. And I think that, you know, we're not kicking the can down the road for 5 years. We're postponing this, and I would like to see us postpone this until 1 to 2 years pass. Have the discussion with the new and grade reconfigure of the new superintendent, and then dive into anything after that that's necessary.
I'm good with that. I just want to make sure that when we're talking about that roof, whatever we do, that we feel confident that we're going to keep the water out, that hey, we won't be ruining anything in that building, whether it be the roof, you're not replacing the tiles, whether it be any kind of carpet, whether anything at all, that, you know, we just feel confident whatever we do for the next 2, 3 years, 5 years, whatever it's going to be, 2, 3 years. I would hope we have something on this, but we feel confident that whatever we do, we will keep the weather out of the building.
And you know, obviously the 6 or 7 major rain events we get on an annual basis, we have angst at every campus. And that goes back to our staff and the custodians and how well they do and how they roll the barrels out, and we try to stay on top of them, but it's a constant battle for us to stay on top of those, and we'll continue to do that if that's what the board wishes. And part of the pressing is, if this is a summer project that we want it done, we need to be doing it now. We need to be having that thought process, getting the bid ready and getting rolling with it, pulling the trigger on this project if this is the route we're going to do. That's why we wanted to push this question today.
And it also gives us the ability to manipulate other roofs around.
With the money we've got.
With the money we've got to be able to address some other issues.
I would like to know the cost to do that patch of, you know, if it's gonna be $250,000, then is it worth it, you know? And I have a real hard time swallowing any of this because we're in this situation because we deferred maintenance. That's exactly what we're doing again.
Yeah.
And so maybe it won't be our problem 5 years from now. There'll be a new board sitting up here saying those idiots in that last board, you know, they deferred maintenance again. But I totally understand what you're saying. I get it 100%.
I don't look at this as deferring maintenance. I look at this as holding off and making decisions in the right order. And.
That's deferred maintenance.
No, I mean, deferring, to me, deferring maintenance is just not addressing things.
Sure.
Because you don't want to, or you don't have the means to. This is not putting the cart before the horse, in my mind. I don't know, Brandon, I mean, I bet you spend less than $30,000 to.
I would say
repairs.
50 max would kill it.
What'd you say?
I would say 50 would be a big figure.
Yeah, I think you're somewhere in that neighborhood.
That's for the resealing or that's just a patch?
I think that's to go through, it would go through and patch your problem areas and you'd probably spend somewhere
So
between.
my building that my office is in is a flat building. And we had a lot of leaks. And then we completely resealed and we have had very few, like Mark's runs in the same thing, like around, air vents and things.
Right.
But I would like to know what it would cost to reseal the whole roof and do it better than halfway. If we could get that figure by next meeting.
So is that a new roof? Like, are you talking a new roof?
No, like just to reseal the current roof, the entire roof.
Yep.
That way you're not chasing a patch, because you resealed the whole thing.
But does that, can you reseal over that structure of that weak area around?
We're gonna have to do we would have to do some reconstructive work there. But I think all that would fit into that dollar figure that we were talking about. Now, if we're mopping the whole roof, I mean, that's a coating, I mean, that we may be getting up there a little bit higher in cost, maybe that 50 that I'm talking about, but I can get that number for you.
Yeah, I would feel comfortable. We're not just Band-Aiding it, and we're trying to be proactive in covering the entire building and doing the best and still being cognizant of the fact that we might be looking at something different. I just talked to a super of a local small district and they're talking closing schools and consolidating like 3 towns. So we're not the only people in Southwest Kansas dealing with this. So I would like to have that number so we could compare that, which I personally know for my building was a pretty good fix. Based than just putting some tar over places that are leaking. I don't know what you guys think.
I will say, I like the idea of the sloped roof, on any building.
Flat roofs are
not a good idea. Whoever invented that.
Yeah.
It's all the construction guys that want money coming back.
That's right.
So I like the view of this and I like the slope on it and I like the idea of it that we can do. But I agree with what we're talking about. Let's look at what we can do just to seal it over.
I think coating, just rough figuring, we could probably coat that whole roof for approximately 35,000. Just rough figures.
And that.
Don't hold me to that, please.
And then make,
Roughly a 5-year.
Yes, sir.
and that's including your patch, your repair work for the structural.
That's me doing quick Google math. So don't
Sure,
hold me
got
to
it.
that.
Yeah, I gotcha.
So 50,000, we could get it in pretty good shape for 3 to 5 years.
And I would
I'm
hope,
good
I
with
would like
that.
to see this board, readdress grade reconfiguration and a lot, not wait 5 days. Let's not be
No.
like-
Right.
I mean, I think
No,
when new
right.
stuff gets here, we start having those conversations,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yes.
Because we know the public wants that.
And I still think we still need to move forward with the fire alarm system. I don't know if that's.
So-
involved in daily.
So for us moving forward, we need to continue with the essentials. With anything that is essential, if it is not essential, we need to find a way to fix it and hope to get 3 to 5 years is what I'm hearing.
Yes.
And then at 3 to 5 years, whatever happens, we can make long range decisions at that point. So we can work with Jessica to kind of reorganize our long range facility program to match that. Is that what I'm hearing?
I'd agree with Andy. I think it's a good common sense approach. I mean, I think we still use the dollars that we're planning for Pine Mill somewhere else and continue moving the rest of our, but until we know the future of that building, I think we just do what maintenance we need to, that we can make the final decision.
And tell me again what that maintenance is. Well, obviously the roof.
Yeah. So
Maintenance
for,
to the roof, so rough 50, let's say 50.
Sure.
Our alarm system, I believe, was listed at 125. I didn't bring that list, but the HVAC, I think we had around 800, and that was for a VRF system.
it'll be
We
substantially
would go
less.
back in with a much more common sense approach, and I think from a maintenance standpoint, we're looking at possibly max, 150. And that's only escalated because of what we had to do at the transportation. I mean, we had 50,000 budgeted for that unit, that 2 units that need to be replaced at transportation, and the cost was about 136 or something like that. So that's what we're running into, is kind of cost on some of those, so. And then with the law.
On the HAC, I know you said the units have been checked out to make sure they work right. But the other discussion was you have one unit serving 2 classrooms right now. You could break that apart by adding another unit. So each classroom has its own unit, its own thermostat. But it's been like that
Since it's been put in.
since we put in. So even on that front, that's it's been operating well that way, as long as the unit's working.
And we don't think we think we can get more years out of the HVAC than we originally had planned for. I think in some of our arrangement, we did it because where the money fit, as opposed to really the highest need. We were able to fit this in here, which is fine, where you can budget the money in where it fits the best. But in doing that, some projects got moved in front of other projects based off of how the money fit as opposed to the actual need. Now, not to say that in the next 5 years, yes, in the next 5 years, if Plymel is still one of our buildings, we will have to invest some significant money in the HVAC. But until then, we feel pretty comfortable with it, we should say.
So with that, we do have Justin Wall with A-Alert Roof Systems and Centurion Industries here tonight. Do you want to hear a quick presentation from him?
I would, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Justin, come on up. Now that you know, you're probably not going to sell this roof. Come on up, do us yourself with the pitch.
Maybe future.
It takes years for these
Tell us
projects.
what was wrong with our conversation. about
No,
while you're at it.
we can discuss it a little bit.
Can you help do that? Thank you, board.
Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, eventually, I agree, we have to do something, as long as we can, not just Band-Aid it, but semi-fix it.
Does that look like it should? But yeah, I completely understand. I worked for a school district, Fredonia, Kansas, for 10 years as the maintenance director. So I've been through these conversations. Some of the tricks or some of the trickiness to patching that is that it's a hot tar and gravel roof. And it can be tricky to get that tar or the gravel separated cleanly from the gravel that's embedded in the tar. So it can probably be done, the coating, just make sure that they're doing a good job of prep work and stuff like that on it. Like anything, prep work's half of it or more, right? So, but yeah, being up on that roof, I think the structure still felt good to me. I don't think you'll have an issue with that really. Maybe some isolated spots that have there's some wood framing on that. It's old enough that several of the original buildings have wood trusses. So you don't want those to leak. They definitely will deteriorate. And on the northeast corner on the fascia, there's a critter getting in there chewing on it. So you'll want to have that addressed too. Make sure the squirrels aren't nesting in there. So you might take a look at that. But, so again, I'm with A-Alert Roof Systems. We're a Kansas-owned company. out of Southeast Kansas. They've been around, started in 1975. They've grown to multiple divisions. Of course, I work for the roofing and metal building division. We've been around since the 80s doing metal roofs. That's all we do is metal roofs and retrofit over flat roofs. I think our name got passed down because we're working in Tribune School District right now, doing some retrofits for them. Lakin School District has some of our roofs, Moscow, Tri-Plains, so we're definitely in the area here. I'll try to go fast through this, but stop me if you have any questions here. So something I try to ask people is what's important to them with their roof system. The most common responses I get first of all is I don't want my roof to leak. Pretty obvious, right? But that's a little ambiguous. The next most common response I get to what's important to a roof system is they want it to last a long time. Certainly, you're going through all that, the money and the time and the effort. You want a durable, long-lasting roof system. And third, how much does it cost? We're all working with budgets, so that's certainly something to consider. Also, energy savings. If you're putting a roof on, who wouldn't want to save a little money on their utility bill every month? So if energy savings can be built into that roof system, that's a plus. Aesthetics. Can you improve the look of the building? That's something that's more important probably to a residential roofing, a residential person or roof. How's it going to look at it? But same for commercial roofs. Certainly the curb appeal of your building is important, especially to schools. And finally, looking for eco-friendly roofing solutions. So we kind of created a list there of things, a checklist. I think we can check all those boxes for you by the end of this. So what kind of roof are we talking about doing for you guys? It was a retrofit standing seam metal roof. You can see in the picture there, the standing seam metal panels. They're 16 inches wide with a 2-inch tall rib. They're made out of 24 gauge galvalume. You can see we've sloped that. So now it's heading towards the edge of the roof or the eave. You hang a gutter on it just like you would your house, gutter and downspouts. So that's a retrofit standing seam metal roof. Of course, what you have on Plymel and probably most of your buildings is just a flat roofing system. This one's up in Concordia. You can see the internal roof drain there in the picture. So that's sending all that storm water back into the building to be sent out. So how do you get from this roof to our standing seam metal is with a retrofit metal frame. So starting at the bottom, you can see we left the roof on that building. We have a light gauge red oxide framing members that we can frame up, creating a slope. Again, slope to the edge of the roof there. And that creates a slope that we can put our standing seam metal panels on. So this system is actually tied into your existing structural system. So it has to be engineered, which we have. We have our own engineer. So all of our plans or all of our projects come with a set of blueprints that are signed and sealed for your area to meet the snow and wind load ratings. We're not just leaving it up to chance for our guys in the field to build. They'll follow the actual blueprints for this building for your unique structure. So that's where we get our retrofit standing seam metal roof system. You guys have any questions on that?
So you have to move some things on the roof still, like HVAC or no?
Correct, yeah. You know, we're building a bit of an attic space. So if there are rooftop units, those will usually we can do as much framing as we can around them, but at some point they do need to be removed. We finish our framing, install a new roof curb, and set that unit back onto the new roof system. So a good time to do a retrofit is if you're doing HVAC project too, right? You're already pulling the units. You might as well, you could do our retrofit, set new units. No added cost there.
The gas lines have, like a lot of our buildings have gas lines run on the roof. Do the gas lines run in that new created space, or do they have to be run outside that?
You know, that's a good question. I've come across HVAC guys that say they can do both. Some say, no, we definitely need to raise them unless they're welded. And then I've come across others that say, as long as that's a vented attic space and I have access to it, I'm fine burying it in there. And we can do that. We'll install roof hatches so you can access that attic space and get to all that. I don't know the technical question on what's right. I've even tried to look it up and it's kind of ambiguous, but I've seen both done. So our roof, that's another good point. Our roof system, although we're building an attic, it has high side vents. and it has a vent below the gutter, behind the gutter. So it's actually has some passive airflow through there, just like your house attic would. So it stays cooler in the summer. So you'll, just by installing the retrofit, you'll be able to see should be able to see an savings in your summer bills, your summer utilities with that attic space. Having been under a lot of our retrofits, they're surprisingly cool. Not like a shingle roof, like on a residential home or something, so. So going back to like our questions there, our checklist, longevity, cost and value, energy savings, aesthetics, it's eco-friendly. Longevity, the roof life expectancy, you see here in the chart, the average commercial building life expectancy is about 40 years before needing major renovations. We have metal roofs lasting at 50 plus years, asphalt 20, single ply at 15. So the Galvalume material we're doing for our metal roof panels is warranted for 45 years. It's definitely a long-lasting product, as well as it's fire resistant and extreme hail resistant on metal panels. Cost and value. These slides are a little off, huh? We see here the annual cost per square foot per year. Metal's the lowest at 30 cents per square foot. You have asphalt at 38 and single ply at 68. So the annual cost of owning a metal roof is less than the competition. That's due to its long life and the low cost of maintenance on a metal roof system. Then on energy savings, using cool colors can help reduce energy costs in the summertime. That's something we see more down south a little bit more, like Texas. Using cool colors can help save energy. Of course, I mentioned the dead air space that we're creating with that attic. That helps save some energy, and we can add insulation. So you can see some energy savings on your roof. Aesthetics, a flat roof, you just obviously don't see. There's no aesthetic value to it, but we can build whatever slope you want, low slope, steep slope, and create some aesthetics to the building, make it look a little more modern. And as far as eco-friendly metal panels, our metal panels we use are made out of 74% recycled material. When you're done with the roof, 100% recycled. Also, using those cool color roofs, we reduce the heat island effect. So there's an also eco-friendly savings there. So we can check those boxes for you on longevity, cost and value, energy savings, aesthetics. And then finally, that final question, you won't want your roof to leak. None of us want that. So Alert will warranty for installation water tightness 20 years. So if you ever have issues, just call us. We'll come out and fix that for you. And we've been around long enough that we can back that up. Sure, we'll be around another 20 years. So that's kind of what we're looking at on the Plymel roof. But keep it in mind for other roof projects. It's definitely a long-lasting roofing solution. With us warranting it 20 years, the Galvalume warranting it's warranted for 45. We say the roof system should last 50 or 60 years. And we have some going on about 40-year-old roofs that are still going strong. So
Insurance wise, are they hard to insure, or is it?
no, certainly not. That was kind of a discussion with EMC insurance. They were kind of forcing schools' hand into replacing roofs. A lot of our roofs were still under warranty. So even though they're under or over the 15-year mark, we were still warranting them. So they had no problem keeping them on. They weren't forcing schools to replace them. I don't know that there's necessarily a savings in insurance for just one building, but if you had multiple buildings, the underwriters would take that into consideration, knowing it's long lasting and it's fire resistant.
Just explain your comment. You showed it and talked about its resistance to hail. Why?
Yeah, the 24 gauge Galvalume is just a thicker metal. It's actually, the metal panels will expand and contract in the heat and as they cool down. So there's actually a floating clip, a hidden clip in the seam, and it holds about 3/8 of an inch off the root. And so there's a little bit of give to the panel when you step on it, a little bit of flex, but that allows the hailstone, when it's hitting it, that panel absorbs that hail impact really well. And there's actually some ratings that we have to go and have our panel tested on that show that it's hail resistant. It's the FM Global ratings, FM 4471. It includes structural integrity, fire resistance, and hail resistance. So we meet those ratings.
Have you ever had a roof that's been severely damaged by hail that needed replaced?
Not that I've heard of. I've been around the company for about 10 years and I've worked for them for about 2, and I haven't heard of us doing, having to replace them because of hail. Typically, the slopes, although our roof is sloped, it's still low. It's usually a half 12 pitch, so a half inch and 12. And so even if it gets a few hail marks on it, you can't see it from the ground. I was at some school districts that had some other roof panels that weren't ours, that weren't on floating clips. They were just on plywood. You could definitely see the hail marks on those. Ours were almost spotless. So it definitely absorbs those hail impacts better than some other systems.
What did you say on your wind rating?
The wind rating, did I say something on there? So there's several wind ratings that our panels have to be tested to. Probably the most common is the UL. It's a UL 580 rating by Underwriter Laboratories. And it reaches a UL 90 rating, which isn't actually 90 miles per hour. It's actually a pressure rating of how much pressure the wind is forcing on it. It's oscillating. It's an oscillating test. I think it equals 100 pounds per square foot oscillating pressure, and we have to hold that for a set amount of time, 60 minutes or something, to meet that UL rating. So we have those ratings on our panels. So we're a metal roofing manufacturer, so we're actually making our own panels. But I guess anybody could buy a roll form machine and roll their own panels, but to actually install them, they have to be tested by like UL or FM Global. It's kind of expensive, but it's necessary. So we have all these testings. And again, our engineer will look up the wind load ratings for your area and take into consideration how that structure is framed and then build our retrofit accordingly.
So these roofs, like when we have rooftop units, you'll generally build some sort of support frame and a curb and just put the unit will be above the new roof.
Yeah.
And then a curb that transfers down to the old roof. Are these, then I think these roofs are rated for like live loads to walk across them and service units and.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. You can walk across them fine. Of course, there'll be added framing where the rooftop unit is to transfer that weight down into the structure of the building. We have gotten into a few projects where the building had no rooftop units, but had our retrofit, and the school decided to go back with new rooftop units. So our engineer took on the task of actually checking to make sure that that structure could handle the weight. First of all, the original building could handle the weight of the rooftop units, but then designing our framing on our retrofit to accommodate that new rooftop unit. So that's all stuff we have to take into consideration, which just means, accurate measurements of the roof joists, their spacing, the placement of the rooftop unit in the room. But again, we have our own engineer that can handle all that and sign it and seal it and stamp it for us.
Justin, as I've been checking and doing some due diligence, one of the concerns that came up was a snow load. Does it handle snow load all right?
Yeah, it will. And there's certain areas like on Plymell, the gym roof was higher and the area we're looking at replacing was a lower. So if you have a high-low area like that, you can get drifting. Our engineer takes all that into consideration, and that just means more framing in those areas to handle that snow load. We can accommodate that through just extra framing.
Right. The other thing was, I talked to another roofing company, and they were telling about the con they thought was the fact that pro versus con, not that you're conning us, but a negative was that if you did have a roof issue or a leak in the metal roof, and then it started leaking there and it got down into your old roof, same leaking issues were reoccurring, then it was a really bad combination because then you couldn't get in there to work on it. So
on this, I'm pretty sure on your project, we made sure we had a roof hatch. A lot of schools will have a roof hatch from down below. You can get between the roof, the attic space. I think on this one, we provided that. And even if there's different attic spaces, so to speak. We can just add a roof hatch there so that you can get between the roofs. I think that's just good practice. We did have one because we had conduit we were gonna bury. We can't just bury that under a roof and not have access to it. Someone needs to be able to access that, so.
So my follow-up question to them was, how old was that roof when you were dealing with that? And you said 25 years old, so.
On which?
On a Taylor or a similar overbuild like what we're talking about, so.
He said it was
I
25.
don't know that it was an A-alert, it was an overbuild, I was asking about that, so. But he was also selling me his product too.
Sure, yeah, understand. Anything else?
No, thank you. It's good.
Yeah.
Even if not for this project, we have a lot of flat roofs.
Yeah, please keep us in
Here.
mind,
Yeah.
sure. Also, we're Greenbush vendors, so I think we had this project through our Greenbush contract, only one of 2 roofing companies that are on their purchasing vendor. We're also TIPS members, so if you wanted to use some of those TIPS contracts, you could, but yeah, thank you all, I appreciate your time.
Thank you for your time. Okay, move on to item H3, bids for half-ton and three-quarter ton pickup.
Bid out, 2 different pickups, a 2,500 3/4 ton diesel and a 1,500 half-ton, V8 or higher. I didn't bring the bid specs, but we did receive just one bid, for both vehicles. That one came from, Lewis in Dodge City. They have a 2,500 diesel double cab. The price that they gave us on it is $57,977. It listed on their website for $60,060. So that was after the fleet discount of $57,977. Where I go and look, I go to Auto Trader and put in the exact mirror image, and I do a 500-mile radius. The closest one I could actually find to that price was $59,900 in Burleson, Texas. So I think that's a pretty good deal on that particular unit. Again, that's a 3/4 ton diesel. It's a super cab and it's a long bed. We now in grounds, if we added this one, we would have 3 of those 3/4 ton diesel trucks. And when I got in here looking at budget, I'm looking at what we have to pay in a snow event to clear off lots. And so I think we can eventually equip all 3 of these trucks to start taking care of some of our own lots as opposed to hiring that out each time, because that's a big budget number. So that's on the 3/4 ton. On the half-ton unit, a bid of $43,903 after fleet discount. And again, it was listed on their website, $46,580. Again, I did some comparisons. I could find that truck in the Metroplex in Texas at $41,680, the identical truck. There's another one at 5-star in the Metroplex for $43,040. There was 5 units at that same dealership at $41,680. I know I could possibly do that, but you're talking about having to get it up there and expenses to it. The other thing though that I look at on this particular bid, and in comparison wise, it's not out of whack. I at least appreciate them putting the effort in to give us a bid. In today's time, it's difficult for us to get bids. We know that. We're dealing with that with a nutrition unit. We dealt with it with our vans. And so in today's time, trying to find a dealer that we can continue to work on. They've got the diesel truck on the lot, but it would be available immediately. This other truck would have to be ordered and wouldn't be here till February.
What is the use of the half-ton? Say that.
The half-ton truck, right now, Brad Stopcotti is in a 3/4 ton Ford that we would actually transfer over to grounds. Grounds really needs 2 rigs. And then a lot of his duties are back and forth the campuses, carrying custodial equipment at this time. And with the half-ton, just a 5.3 engine in it. I mean, it's a lighter duty. He does pull a trailer from time to time, and it pulls custodial equipment.
That puts us under the 113, correct?
Correct. Yeah. And for the budgetary, the line item was 200. That gets us both fans, all the upfitting for that, and these two trucks and all the upfitting under that figure. So.
Were those bids included, were they meant to be included in this board packet?
So there was a mishap with a gal that went on vacation last week and she shut the mail off for the entire week. So bids were due last Monday at 2. So we didn't want to shut them off until we got the mail today, just to see if there were more postmarked. And so we didn't get the mail until late today, because our mail carrier didn't come today either. So we had to go get it and go through it. So it was just because it was so, we didn't want to stick them in there in case there were more.
Oh, I'm sorry, you don't have.
Yeah.
it.
I was gonna say,
Can you read? I was looking for these bids that you were reading
Sounded good.
off, so I wasn't writing them down. Can you read these numbers?
So the half ton is $43,903.
And that's from who?
Lewis
Lewis and Dodge.
Chevrolet in Dodge City.
Okay.
And the 3/4 ton diesel long bed super cab, both of them are are double cabs is what the Chevy calls them, is a $57,977.
And I can email these to you right now as well.
Sorry about that.
No, that's okay.
Yeah, 101,800.
We need a motion, if someone would like.
I move that we accept the bid from Lewis Motors Dodge City on the 2 trucks.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your left hand. Opposed, same. Motion carries. Item H4, insurance renewal. CFO Jessica Nolan.
You stole all my thunder. I had it all, but you gave exactly the information I had, so you did good. Okay, as you guys know, our property casualty insurance comes up January 1st. And so EMC has made some changes. So Trent is here just to present one last time before we make a decision on whether we would like to continue with EMC insurance or go to the pool. So he has a presentation prepared, and then you don't have to take action tonight. You can wait till the 19th. But that way Trent's here for any questions. And then I just also wanted to mention, we had a gentleman reach out, Dr. Dominguez brought him to me, and he just that he could go out and vet out other options for us. So we're already under contract with IMA, our insurance broker that does our health insurance. And they also do this for us. I reached out to them. It was too quick of a turnaround for them to do 2025, but they will add that to our contract for 2026 coverage. So we'll just have another option to look at, as well as what Trent can bring. So I'll let him go ahead and present, and then we can answer questions.
Well, board, thank you again, Jessica. My name is Trent Speck with Iron Insurance Partners here locally, formerly Keller Leopold. So thank you for your continued partnership. I think it's been over 50 years that Keller Leopold / Iron has insured USD 457. So thank you again. Congrats to the fall athletes, but specifically the cross country team. Pretty cool for a state championship. I just wanted to give them a shout out. So Marketplace. Oh, you got a PowerPoint? I wasn't gonna go through this. This has all the specifics, and I think it's in your board bunch.
There's 2.
Packet, but marketplace overview, as we're getting that pulled up. Pretty standard. We've had more hurricanes, more flooding, more tornadoes in the last 6 months. We have got an indication that the market is softening. so that's good to hear. With the two proposals today, I think it makes the decision a little bit tougher. When I met with Dr. Dominguez, Jessica, Drew, and Josh, they said that the separation is almost too close now. It was probably an easier decision 6 months ago. Both EMC and the pool have kind of read the tea leaves. So in the last 6 months, the pool upped their wind hail deductible from $250,000 to $500,000 per occurrence deductible, which simply means that no matter what happened across, and I'll get into the specifics of this, no matter what happens, it's $500,000 deductible per occurrence. So if Horace Good and the high school were to be hit, it's $500,000, one flat fee. After that, insurance kicks in. With EMC, they also read the tea leaves. They increased their all peril deductible, not wind or hail up, and their wind and hail also, they went to 2% deductible. We negotiated, they came back to 1%, and I'll show you the pricing on that. It is in here, so I think the biggest thing is all comes down to risk tolerance. EMC is less expensive. There's less coverage on a rainy day. The pool is more coverage, but also more is pricier. So a little refresher. There's really only two options when it comes to insuring schools in the state of Kansas: EMC and the school pool. EMC has done a great job. They've been in it for a number of years. I believe that USD 457 has been with EMC, I believe, since 1990, 1991, somewhere in that time frame. KICS started, formerly KERM. KICS is a Kansas school insurance program. It started in 2015. With everything that's happening with EMC, they've made there's been an influx of schools that have ran towards them. There was 97 when I talked to you last June, 6 months ago. We've taken 8 to 10 schools there at Iron, and I believe 30 or 40 have kind of joined them overall. And there's 300 plus schools, so it's almost 50-50 when this time last year was probably 2/3, 1/3, roughly. We did reach out to Liberty Mutual. They don't do property in the state of Kansas for schools. They will do the casualty lines. That doesn't really help us on a rainy day because the main issue around USD 457 is property. Just to put that in perspective, you have $430 million at the school pool, or EMC is writing for $750,000. Put that in perspective. Chubb, we did reach out to Chubb, and they are on one school for myself that EMC non-renewed on the property, and the school pool would not allow them to come in. And Chubb came back and said, hey, what you have right now is competitive on the blanket rate. We can't match that. Plus, we have a $100 million limit. So if there's a rainy day, F5 tornado takes out the high school, you would only get $100 million back. Where right now you have $430 million. I'm talking total catastrophe, right? So like I said, two options, just a little refresher. EMC has made some big changes, 1% to 2% on their wind hail deductible. They're still competitive on the blanket rate, which I'm gonna get to a slide towards the end, kind of comparing other schools around around us. That will kind of put it in perspective. EMC has done a good job. I can't give, they have done a good job. They've been on they've been on schools in the state of Kansas for however long. They've just taken hits and keep taking hits. So they're saying, hey, we gotta charge more, and then we have to put more back on the schools districts. That's what they're pretty much saying. So that's kind of the pros and cons. They're less expensive. They're trying to make it work. The cons is 2% deductible, goes off per building. So if Horace Good, hailstorm hits Garden City, Horace Good, and the high school gets hit, you're looking at 2 different deductibles, plus your fencing, plus your track, plus you have a deductible per building, per property in the open. So Another big thing for me is an ACV on buildings that are on the roofs that are 16 to 35 years old. I know you guys have put together a great plan, looking at 25 years and under is what you kind of want to keep the buildings on the roofs. The con of that is EMC coming back and saying, hey, that doesn't fit our threshold, no matter what, we're still going to offer. Now on the metal side, there is a cosmetic roof exclusion. So if softball size or baseball size hail gets hit and it's not, the functionality of it is not damaged, they're going to say, hey, I don't care what it looks like as long as it holds up. With kicks, they're going to say, hey, we're going to replace that. That is, like I said, there's pros and cons to different ones, and that's where the $200,000 difference is. Kicks, I mentioned this in June. There's 10 districts that were in 2015. There was 97 as of last year. There's probably 30 or 40 more now. So you're looking at around 130, 140. I'm 2-2. Fun fact, I would be 3-1, but the pool did not offer. So you're going to break the tie one way or another. Pros and cons of kicks. Replacement cost, regardless of the age of the roofs, that is big. Superior deductibles. I know when you hear $500,000 deductible, that it has to meet before insurance kicks in. That's not something that people want to hear. But $430 million is something I would bet on. Right? If I was $430 million that I'm insuring. So they don't have a cosmetic roof exclusion, better suited for sustainability. That is something I put in the previous slide. I don't know how much longer EMC is going to say, hey, we want to keep losing money in the school program. The con is higher premium, higher deductibles that aren't wind hail related. They're putting a lot of that back on the school. And it is based on the size of the school. You have a higher wind hail deductible than a school. The other schools have taken it, and that's because of the. They won't insure every school in the state of Kansas. There's gonna be a threshold. They're gonna say, hey, we don't want you. And they did that with a local school that we were looking at for the school pool in May. They says, hey, we're not doing you. We're there. And I don't want to give the school away, but it was interesting because the other half was in the school. There is a 3-year commitment. And the reason for that is they go and negotiate rates in London. And they say, hey, we want to make sure that it's sustainable. So we need a commitment 3 years running. Property claims in Garden City. We really haven't had a major hailstorm since 2008. When I mean major, I mean softball, baseball size hail. We've had pea size a lot actually in the last 3 or 4 years, but nothing substantial. Since 2016, EMC has paid out $25,000 in property claims for Garden City. The tremendous loss ratios, which means that Garden City hasn't been hit. We haven't turned in claims here at USD 457. Commercial roofing has changed a lot, more expensive. It's more expensive than it has been. The big claim that you had in 2008 was 1.3 million. I can't tell you what that would be nowadays. Andy might help. Andy might be able to. I'm guessing at least double. I don't know about quite tripling it, but I think doubling would be close.
Brent, on the 3-year commitment, is it a price lock or?
It changes every year. I will say that when I asked that question, they said that they did not. The rate stayed the same last year. The only thing that changed was because of values increased of the buildings. They increased the values a little bit. So they did not change the rate though. So there's 2 things, and I'll get into this on this slide coming up, is they look at the blanket rate per 100 and then you multiply it by how much you're insuring. That did not change last year at Kicks. EMC went from 10%, or maybe it was 12%. I think it was 12 cents is what you guys had last year. And now they're at 16 cents. And that's where you're seeing the big increase with EMC. There's a Kicks price right there, or EMC and the Kicks. EMC is 945,321. Kicks is 1.1 million. I do want to mention that EMC did offer a 1% deductible, which I think is a lot better than 2%. Just based off a claim, something happens at Horace Good, something happens at the high school. Horace Good at 2%, you would be looking at $1 million deductible. At the high school, you're looking at $2.4 million deductible. 1% obviously is 50 or 500,000 at Horace Good and 1.2 million at the high school for $80,000 difference. So what EMC is now, just add 80,000, and that's pretty much what the 1% is. So it's still less than Kicks, the school pool. Cheaper doesn't always mean better. Differences in coverage. The school pool does have better coverage when it comes to general liability. They operate on a 2 million, 4 million, where EMC is 1 million, 2 million. The umbrella that you guys have is for $1 million. So pretty much add $1 million for your autos. Instead of 1 million, have 2 million. Kicks is 2 million. So a lot of it's the same. Some of it is a little bit different. With EMC, you do not have cyber, crisis response, pollution, or if you do have cyber, it's very small compared to $2 million policy with Kicks. So questions so far? I know I'm kind of going quick.
When you go to that 3-year commitment on Kicks, is there a max that they can raise it, or is it just you're subject to whatever they do?
They look at a number of different factors. They're going to look at you specifically, USD 457. They're going to look as a insurance as a whole, whoever's in that program, the 140 schools. It goes back to what I said in June. I think it's better suited because it's like a Tetris, right? EMC, they're a for-profit entity. Kicks is nonprofit. So EMC, they have to pull money from somewhere else to pay claims if they don't have enough money. With Kicks, it's layered where it's not all falling on one carrier. So like I mentioned, this carrier might have the first $10 million and they might only have 33% of that 10 million. This carrier is taking 50% of maybe the first 15 million. So it's better suited for long-term. I don't know if that helped answer your question or not, but.
So there's no cap within that 3-year contract that rates will not, any rate changes won't exceed a certain percentage or anything.
No, the deductible won't change. That's what they're really big on is once you get into the school pool program, they're not going to say, hey, next year you have $1 million deductible. They're going to try to lock you in at that 500,000. Out of the rates, I think they're going to say, hey, everyone in the school program is rated from 7.1 to 7.1. So they're going to go and negotiate starting in January or February, whenever their timeline is, and they're going to say, hey, where are we at? What does our losses look like? What can we get this at for this many schools in the program?
How long has Kicks been insuring schools in Kansas?
10 years. It started in 2015. There was 2 schools that kind of made the jump. This comes through our Salina office when we merge with Assurance Partners. So they started on that side 10 years ago. And then after that, 10 schools that were kind of in it at the start. Now there's 97, now it's up to 130.
Have you seen anything dramatic over that 10-year period in regard to their annual premiums or coverages or deductibles? Yeah, abnormal to the rest of the industry?
I would say no, because I would say that EMC is almost flipping it. They know what they need to charge. They say, hey, I think EMC undercharged for years, not saying that was a good or bad thing. I think for USD 457, that was a good thing, right? Because you saved money all those years. But they're saying, hey, we need to charge this because we have a superior insurance coverage and program in place compared to what EMC is offering. Well, you know, they don't have the cosmetic exclusion. They have replacement costs on all ages of roofs. You know, Plymouth's 25 years old, that gets hit with softball size hail tomorrow. It's a total loss. You know what happened at Deerfield in October of maybe last year. They're saying, hey, it needs to be replaced. You have a $500,000 deductible. Let's go on. You know, at the same time, I think they're better suited. I'm trying not to be, I'm trying to be non-biased.
And when you were here in June, July, whenever that was, wasn't EMC in like the $500,000 range at that point in time?
They were at the 1% deductible. Oh, on cost. They were, yeah, premium was 680,000.
So it's.
So it's went up
30%.
30 to 40%. Yeah, and I think, you know, that back to the tea leaves, I think that's what they're saying. I think part of that is they're seeing a mass exodus of schools getting out. So they're saying, hey, we got to charge more to the schools that are still in. And that's where you're seeing that. And they're saying, hey, for this to be successful, we got to raise the rates. So it's twofold. But yeah, it was 680,000. I think that's wise what you guys did in June is saying, hey, let's wait. Let's wait to see what we're getting renewal offer before committing.
You said Kicks is a nonprofit. What's the organization of Kicks? Can you explain that? Is it, it's not.
It's Gallagher. So it's Gallagher that out of Kansas City controls it. They're the main one, but there's representatives. So they're the one that own it, if you will. Back to what a pool is, you know, a pool is just what it sounds like. It's what insurance is you're gathering people. You're putting all your money into one pot and then, hey, claims. So no one owns it. And that's a good thing about the pool is one of the representatives from US 457 would have a seat at the table saying, hey, when it comes to raising or rates or whatever, there's 2 times a year that you would have to go to meetings and say, hey, I'm the representative for USD 457. I'm here. Let's talk about where this is going. Why are we raising it? So I can go back to the board and talk about it. So that is a good thing about the pool program that you don't currently have is you get a seat at the table. And yeah, they are nonprofit. They're not in it. I mean, obviously they want to make money, but they're not in it for a for-profit like UMC.
So we'd have a seat at the table if we were joint Kicks.
Yeah, it's pretty much record. There's non-negotiables with the pool. They're going to say, hey, you have to have cyber. You have to have crisis response. You have to have pollution liability. That's not something that is negotiable as part of the program.
Is this an all or nothing? I mean, do all buildings have to be under one company, one program, or can we split the buildings?
It would be wise to have them all one, because then you can pool. I mean, if you're looking at not insuring buildings, that would be a different discussion. But if you're thinking, hey, they're gonna give you a better rate with more money in the pot, if that makes sense. So right now, your blanket rate with KIC is 18 cents. With EMC, it's 16 cents. If you were saying, hey, we're gonna pull some buildings off, it might be 25 cents with this other carrier, with Chubb, for example. Blanket rate, I wish I made it bigger, I apologize. I don't want to name the schools. So we just put school 1, 2, 3, and 4. I don't know if I can make that bigger. School 1 has a blanket limit of 42 million. So their rate is at 45 cents with KICS. School 2 has a blanket limit of 50 million. They're at 20 cents with EMC. So they're getting a really good rate. And that goes back to, I believe KICS is sustained for long-term stability because they're insuring $50 million at 20 cents. It's one major storm, they're losing their money. When you collectively say, hey, all these schools in there, if they're underinsured, undervalued. School number 3 is $100 million in property. Their blanket rate is 34 cents. School 4 is 87 million, 33 cents with KICS. Municipality is at 22 cents that we insure. There's another school number 5. They have 200 million and their blanket limit or their blanket rate is, I didn't put it on there. I apologize. I thought I did. Their blanket rate, excuse me, I think was around 24, 25 cents. EMC with garden, this top one is 16 cents. It comes out to 700 and some thousand just on the property, $700,000 per year for 447 million. 435 million for 18 cents blanket rate with kits. And what a blanket simply means is you can pull money from that. So if forest good gets damaged, F5 levels it, it's $100 million. They're not going to say you can only have 100 million. You have 435 to build it back at replacement cost. I do want to talk about this claim, and I'm trying to be non-biased. At the very end, if you have a recommendation, I'm more than happy to give it. We have a local school, and this is a true story. It's one that I represent. They moved from EMC to the school pool program 7-1. They had a microburst come down Labor Day weekend. The roof was damaged all the way through. They had insulation foam on top with modified bitumen underneath. They had water and HVAC system that rolled across the roof and poked holes in the insulation or the foam roofing. They had leaks everywhere. They had a big old 3 foot by 3 foot whatever hole in the middle. 2 inches worth of rain came down after that microburst. It was a catastrophe. I want to talk, the reason I bring this up is I want to talk about the difference in coverage. Because their roof was over 25 years old. It was not quite 35, but this is a claim incident that is different when it comes to the pool or EMC. So with EMC, if they had EMC and they had a 2% deductible, that building was worth or is worth 20 to 25 million. Just let's say 20 million. You're looking at a $400,000 deductible before insurance kicks in. And then based on the year of the roof, you're looking at, it's going to be around, we just got figures in Friday, it's going to be around 1.5 million to replace that roof. With EMC, you're looking at 1.2 because it's actual cash value. There's depreciation that's fixed in. So you're looking at a $600,000 difference in coverage when it comes on a rainy day that school would have had incurred. And it's a small school population of, and you can look it up on KSN if you're Labor Day weekend, they did a report on it. But for a small school like that, 600,000 is a lot of money. So with the school, they are with Kicks. We moved them 7-1, so $100,000 is their deductible, and then 1.5 is what they got back on the roof. So they made a good decision. Now their decision wasn't $200,000 and difference. Theirs was a little bit smaller, of course, but like I said, I think it saved them $600,000 that one decision. What can Iron Insurance continue to do with you? You know, we can't really do anything about wind hell. If I knew what was going to happen, I would tell you, hey, do this or do that, you know, if I knew the future. Obviously, I don't. Something we have been doing is working on the work comp. Your mod is great. I believe we can still bring it down. That's still savings. I remember a time that I've been told that it was closer to 1.5, 1.6. You're at 0.94. So you're continuing to be well above average. One is being average. So there's savings there. We can try to get it down to 0.8. That's about 60, 70, 80,000. Not huge when you look at it over the big scheme, but it is some savings. So it's a new vehicle or two. So thoughts, comments, recommendations? A lot of information.
I just appreciate your honesty. I do.
And I appreciate just Looked at this, I mean, I've been your ear outside of here about this, and I know you've looked into other options with like Liberty Mutual and Chubb and stuff to really, look at everything that could or possibly even be available for us, so. I know you guys have worked really hard and dug really deep on this. Did you say that EMC did negotiate and would offer 1% deductible?
Yeah, they did offer a 1% deductible. It's about $80,000 more than what.
For $80,000 more, they would go.
So my recommendation is I would throw the 2% out. I don't think that's feasible. If you're talking about 1.2 million on a hailstorm of Garden City at the high school, I would be willing to bet $80,000 on that. You're looking at I'm a math guy, right? Used to teach here, but you're looking at 15 years of retaining your money. $80,000 difference times 15 years is 1.2 million. So one storm in 15 years pays for itself. That's how I look at it.
945 is at the 1%?
That's at 2%.
That's the 2%. So that makes our price like 120,000 different.
Can I go back to, I'll go back to that other one real quick, if you don't mind. How do I get there?
Exit over there. It should be pulled up on the actually, I'm probably have to pull it up. Your math gun, I'll take that.
Well, I have a master's in it, but it doesn't make me know how to use that. So this is something you definitely can look at, and I recommend you looking through. And any more information you want before December 19th, just let me know. But this gives you this column right here, and I don't want to patronize you by any means, but this is what last year's coverage would look like with EMC, 23 to 24. This would be 25 with EMC, this is 25 with KICS. So I recommend you looking through there. If you want me to zoom in, I'm more than happy to. But
Zoom in.
I'm emailing this, both of these presentations to you guys right now too.
So like I said, it is potato, right? I mean, with KICS, they're saying you're insuring more on everything else, like water claims is $150,000. You guys haven't had, when I talked to Drew, Jessica, Josh, and Dr. Dominguez, you guys said that you guys self-insure those. You know that, hey, if a north wind's coming, it's gonna be -30 wind chill. You have people at the high school and you have people like Gertrude Walker, making sure you're checking pipes, making sure after the freezing, making sure when it thaws out, hey, we're on top of it if there's a pipe that burst. EMC is saying 50,000. On the on this right here, deductible, you have 50,000 with EMC. They raised it last year from 25,000. That's all peril deductible besides wind hail. So you're talking fire, lightning, anything along those lines. Right now you have 75,000 with KICS. And then it kind of just takes you through everything. And Megan, the account manager for USD 457, does a great job, so shout out to her. But another big issue was autos. Let me go back to those. You guys talked about adding autos tonight, buying autos. So when that happens with EMC, what you're going to do there is say, hey, we added, Jessica's going to send us an email. We're going to send her a business or an auto ID card. With KICS, it's composite rating, which simply means that what they're going to do is they're just going to see all your vehicles starting on 6/30 right before the 7/1 renewal comes. And they're going to say, hey, you have 25 buses, you have 15 vans, 25 Suburbans. We're going to charge you this. And then they're not going to worry about autos until the next year. It's different rating. So I recommend going through this. Cyber is a big thing for me. I think it's long past overdue, especially when you're dealing with kids' information. So I recommend looking at that. And if you have any more questions, I'm more than happy to come back. There's your mod. We're gonna take that out to market in July as a 7-1. But still really competitive. There's your premium summary. Kix does run 7-1 to 7-1, so this is 574,000. What that would be from 1-1 to 7-1, and then you would get another renewal 7-1 to 7-1. You would start out there. Here's our building property limits, pretty much comparable for the most part. High school, like I said, is my biggest concern. It's approaching 15 years old. I think it's 12. Other questions for me?
I don't think so.
Oh, I do want to mention, and this is something I did not, 85% of all public entities are in some kind of a pool. We really haven't had any out here in Garden City, for the most part, but schools, cities, public transit systems, townships, counties are 85% across the US are in some type of a pool. So that is good information if you are wondering.
Why do certain insurers carry municipalities and not school districts or vice versa? Is there a good reason, or is it what they specialize in? I noticed like Travelers was carried by carries, I think, the city.
I think Travelers does do some schools. It just depends where they're not, I don't think in the state of Kansas. I mean, there's two, but you know, you get to the East Coast or the West Coast, they're gonna say, okay, we have earthquakes, but we don't have wind or hail like they do in Kansas, when it could pop up at any time. And we had a major hailstorm last year. I believe that was $3 million over at Deerfield, you know, so I'm saying they just don't like that exposure. And then you put in their D&O, directors and officers, if the board makes a decision such as closing down 4 schools or keeping them open, someone's not gonna be happy, I'm gonna sue, right? So it's just really tough to insurance schools. And then you put kids involved, children, students, it's not a specialty. Like I said, I think the property is the main 80%, 90% of it. They've just kind of priced themselves out and said, we're not competitive. We would have to charge this for it to make sense.
So are the green, on your proposal, the green building limits, is that what each building is insured at? Is that what you mean by building?
Yeah, so yes and no. Yeah, so you gotta remember that you're pooling money, you're on a blanket. So they want it to be somewhat accurate. They don't want the high school to be worth 120 million and it only be insured at 80 million. Because that would mess everything up. So they want to make sure that the square footage and the cost to rebuild is somewhat accurate.
So in that case, then only 2 of our buildings are insured at a value of over 50 million, which the 1% would be 500,000 only on 2 of our buildings.
Yeah, so for example, if you take let's take Georgia Matthews. You got a $6.4 million building. So if that is the only one that gets hit on wind or hail, your 2 that would be quick math, 64, maybe 128,000.
At 2%, but
At
1%,
it would be
the 64,000.
64,000. Yes.
So on Kix, we wouldn't turn it in.
At Kix, you would not turn it in. You would say Georgia Matthews got hit, or Plymel, for example. Plymel would be the one that's out there by itself. Storm comes through, just as Plymel doesn't hit anything in town. You'd say, well, we're self-insuring. With
If the damage is under half a
Yeah,
million
if the
dollars.
damage is,
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
but if 4 buildings got hit,
You would have a
Say,
deductible with
of
EMT.
500,000 for all 4 buildings with
Yep.
kicks and
You would have one deductible that kicks at 500,000. And
for
then,
everything,
Yeah.
fences,
yeah, Georgia
Gross.
Matthews, you would have 2% of this, or 1%, whichever way. Buffalo Generals, you'd have 1%. Alta Brown, you have 1%. And then you could say, okay, the fence there, the track there, the scoreboard, anything else, so.
Jessica, can you talk about the claim that we filed at Georgia Matthews or Gertrude Walker rather? Kind of what was damaged and what we think it's, you get into the details of that and just share a little bit about that?
Yeah, so actually, I might be able to pull it up, like, so the total loss was over 100,000, right? And we got $36,000 back on it, and we still have to pay 76,000 on glass.
Yeah.
So that one's been pretty like piecemealed here and there because of, I think Brandon was saying, why was the glass? Oh, because we can't do it during the school
We
year.
couldn't do the doors and the windows during the school year, so we've had to defer that to a summer project. The problem with deferring it to a summer project is the price of everything is gonna increase. We had a conversation with EMC and EMC basically said, we insured you for when it happened, not when you replace it 9 months from now in the summertime. If you replaced it right now, this is what we're gonna do for it. If you replace it in 9 months, this is still all we're gonna give.
And they've already done it.
So the total is 120 or it's gonna be 200?
I think it's gonna be more
So,
by the time we're able to do it.
so what's the difference between what's the reason for we sustained north of $120,000 of damage and we've received 36,000 from insurance?
and that's not wind hail, so that's a different deductible,
What was the, I mean, was that all just due to deductibles and such, or?
Is that with the payment from the windows? Have they given us the payment for the windows? I don't think
I
they've
don't know that
given
they
us the payment
are.
for the windows.
But I don't know that they are. Let me try to find that spreadsheet.
That's something where you talk to us and we'll get someone involved in that, someone at Iron Insurance. We have an adjuster on, former adjuster on staff.
Yeah, so, full cost of repair replacement was 91.5 at the time. And then they depreciated it, less the deductible, actual cash value of the loss. And then, yeah, the amount paid to date is 30,000. The max that we may receive after everything's done is 36,000.
But that scenario isn't necessarily an EMC specific. I mean, that scenario of appreciating what was lost and everything, that's likely to happen with any carrier, would you say?
Yeah, they're gonna say, hey, we're gonna pay you maybe actual cash value until you replace it. Once you replace it, we're gonna pay you more, the difference.
Yeah, we had to sign off though that we agreed that if Kenny Glass came back in the summer and it was 10 grand more, we couldn't turn that in, basically.
So we'll get another check once the windows are installed.
You should, yeah, they're gonna say, hey, we're gonna pay you actual cash value until, that's how most carriers do it. And then once it's done, once you show proof, they're gonna say, okay, we're gonna pay you the rest.
But it's only gonna be the cash value of when it was,
Experience.
you know.
Your question, Robin, was it was different deductibles. With what happened at Gertrude Walker, you had a $25,000 deductible. With current year, that moves to 50 with EMC, and that's 75 with. It's gonna be a replacement cost regardless, because it wasn't wind hail and it's not on the roof. Everyone's favorite topic, I know.
One thing that stands out to me difference there is the per credits per location, and as you, I think you said that even on a campus like the high school, that location isn't I mean, the football stadium is considered a different location than the building of the high school building.
That's how it's written in the policy, yep, it's per building, per property, or building, personal property and property in the open. So,
With the pool, if that all got wiped out, it's just one deductible. But with the EMC, there would be the deductible
Or
per
if the same storm event came through and hit
five,
KH and
yeah.
Wilson and the high school, it's all considered one occurrence,
The
right?
playground equipment is separate as well, correct?
yes, yep, and playground equipment, I heard it's went up quite a bit, so just like everything, but this gives you an indication there's not huge difference in some of these values, but remember that it does go back to the blanket that if something were to happen catastrophic, you have 435 million pretty much you're pulling from to replace it. And if there's more than 435 million,
I don't know if we're here.
it'll be a rough day. Like I said, if you have any more questions, send them to Jessica and I'll try to get them answered before the next board meeting. Comments, thoughts, questions?
Thank you.
Yep, thank you guys once again.
On to item H5, Board of Education is asked to consider and approve the following curriculum council items.
So that's.
Deputy Superintendent Josh Lemangan.
We need to kind of come up and help answer questions that I may not know the answers to. We have quite a few courses that we'd like to request your approval for. This will be first read, so we're not asking for any action tonight. It'll be on the consent agenda, provided that you all are comfortable with everything. If you look on there, all of the Garden City Community College courses are all going to be dual credit courses, Purdue courses that they've allowed to that they can increase access for our students. So with the exception of the agriculture, leadership and communications and electric string orchestra. Yeah, it's supposed to be eclectic. I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. That's actually eclectic string orchestra.
I mean, electric string
That
orchestra
would be really
also
cool.
sounds fun, but I don't think we're plugging anything in.
Those two would be elective courses that would be added for the students to take at Garden City High School. All the other courses would be dual credit courses through Garden City Community College. Specific questions that I can answer. There's a lot there. Like biology, I did want to kind of give, there's 3 different biologies on there. We have general biology, I have biology 1 and biology 2. General biology is going to be biology you're going to take if you're going to be like a non-science major. If you're going into going into something outside of the sciences. If you're doing biology 1 and biology 2 would be like if you're going into the medical field. Those are going to be more precise. And the same thing with the anatomy and physiology, and then anatomy and physiology 1. Anatomy and physiology is going to be like general anatomy for non-science majors, and A&P 1 is going to be for your science majors that are going into the medical field. So that's kind of the difference between the 2 courses. Questions? We good? All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Move on to item I, open board discussions. Jackie, you're up.
Several of us went to the Crystal Apple. It was nice. Haven't done anything since last meeting, pretty much.
Quite a bit of information tonight, but all very important stuff. I appreciate the Student Lighthouse team from Charles Stone's being here tonight. Congratulations to the boys high school cross country team. And yeah, as Jackie said, Crystal Apple was a few weeks ago. It's just really great to see the way in which our community comes together and support our teachers, and has done that for 20+ years. So
Echo what they said, I loved like the little playful interaction with the students and the principal. That said a lot to me that they had that kind of relationship and they weren't like, they respected him, but they weren't afraid of him. They were willing to joke with him about his beard. I love that. The leader, the KSU program, I went back to school after I had kids. And back in those days, there were very few options to further your education. So I love seeing more and more things that we can do here that aren't necessarily online, that you have the real classroom interaction. So I really like that. I appreciate that as a board, we can have some tough discussions, like on the roof. Just be open and aware that I think that helps us and hopefully it helps the public see that we really are trying to do our best. Hope everybody had a great Turkey Day.
I would like to say that I enjoyed having Charles Stone's in as well, and I just I looked through some of the data that Andrew had sent or we got in our packet, and it made some big gains there. And I just I think Andrew's a great leader, and I think he's got a great team there. So it's exciting to see that, and it was great to have his students in here and get to hear them read and talk about their school a little bit. I think that's always encouraging. I would also like to give a shout out to the cross country team. I was able to be there and witness that state championship in person, and excitement of that team when they got the knowledge that they were the state championships or state champions was unbelievable. And just to see the coaching staff and that group of boys celebrate, it was pretty special. So I know we don't get a lot of athletics state championships in Western Kansas. They're tough to come by, and it was just great to see those guys get it done, and they have a great chance to repeat next year. There's still a lot of depth and talent on that team, and they have great coaches. So that was really cool. And I appreciate the gentleman, Mr. Wall's presentation on the roofs. Even though we maybe chose to go a different direction tonight, I do think that was very interesting, and it might be a company or it might be a process that we could use in the future, just with the longevity of those roofs and the life, expectancy of them. I know we have a lot of roofs in the district, and it's a continual process for maintenance. But if we started putting some roofs on that were lasting 40 to 50 years, eventually we could get through some of that. So, interesting to look into what they provide a little bit more. And the insurance, I appreciate Trent's presentation, and I appreciate Jessica sharing those two emails with us so we can kind of look through that a little bit deeper. But a lot to unpack there. But it's good information, something that we need to address. So that's all I have.
Mark.
It was good to hear from Charles O. Stones, and I thought the students did a great job in their presentation, and the principal as well. The Kansas Leadership Academy there with our teachers. I think it's a really good program. It sounds like that we'll reap benefits from. Cross country team, that's really wonderful to have win that state championship. November 12th, I did go down to Liberal to the Legislative Appreciation Dinner. There were a number of legislators down there. Did get to speak to a lot of them. And the one thing that came back from that, I don't see a lot of, and they may be doing some things during the session, but I don't see a lot of change on the funding. At least that was the indication you got down there. So that was a good dinner to go to and be able to visit with some legislators from Southwest Kansas. That's all I got.
Yeah, I too got to attend the Crystal Apple Awards. I thought it was really neat, and it's it's kind of an honor, and definitely it's an honor, and I thought it was really great and well attended, and people deserved it. I appreciate the fact that we're always willing to look for new ideas and different options, and people always seem to open or come up with new ideas, and it's just not the way we've always done it. And I think that's how we move forward as a district and do that. We're always looking ahead, and I think that roof thing, maybe it's not the solution for Plymouth, but I definitely think it's an option. And some other roofs that we have, that there's a long list of roofs that need repaired, and cost savings and the longevity out of it, it may be worth a try, put it on a building and let's check it out, but yeah, and then into the state champs, I'm proud of them. I know in sports and that, and how difficult something like that is to do, and you're competing against the best of the best, and I'm really proud of them, so. Nathan?
Appreciate everything that everybody said. I agree with all of that. Definitely appreciate all the employees, and I just think about the insurance and how we've had so few claims, how awesome that is, that everybody working together to mitigate anything happening. And so that's from the custodians to everybody up in the school system. So I appreciate all of their working together. They're working towards the same goal there. So I just encourage everybody to stay healthy. I know there's a lot of sickness going around, and so encourage healthy habits there. And other than that, that's all I got.
After the meeting.
Crystal Apple Teacher Awards, always a celebration. Anytime you can recognize your teachers is always great. Anytime you can recognize your students, state championships are very rare anywhere. Like I said before, talent, coaching, and then at the end, you gotta have love. Everybody's gotta be healthy, and so that's a special moment. Charles Stone's presenting, and John alluded to, the scores are really trending positively. 2 years ago in 22, come here, highly focused on ELA. Definitely seen some benefits on that. Implement of letters, training, UFly, the Haggerty, some of those real world instructional methods, and it's going to translate to other curriculums. Now we're really hyper focusing on math, really gonna see some benefits there. KSU Academy, that's big. Anytime you can put into your staff, and they didn't allude to it, but it's action research. So it's just not theory. You're actually going to those are actionable, real research that I can take the next day to my class, and then take next day to my building, next day to anybody and everybody that I come in contact with. So anytime you build capacity in your people, they can and will see that. And then Drew, thanks Drew for hitting on the WE survey. 22 first got here fall 24. The building admin has got a lot of love, custodial got a lot of love, because we are putting back to our people and building capacity in our people. And once they see that, know that, they can and will articulate that in those surveys. Facility upgrades, we're going to continue to not defer to maintenance, address the needs for the entire district. Clearly the board has the say so on that, because all of these are going to be over $20,000 price tag. So it's real, and we're going to have to make some real decisions. Insurance, EMC, kicks, whatever that looks like. It's going to be a real decision, a real difficult decision, but I know we'll make the right decision. And then anytime, as Josh alluded to on the curriculum side, you give more opportunities to your kids. That's always a benefit. That's always going to help us. That's going to help grow us, and the mentorships and the internships are going to keep growing. Drew's still recruiting like crazy. I mean, we're going to keep building our people and building our capacity, and just, keep the district moving forward. So thank you, Jessica, for leadership, for all that they do, because it really does matter. So thank you. That's all I got.
Next board meeting of the Board of Education will take place on December 15th at 5 p.m. The board meeting room of the Educational Support Center.
Apparently I very much need battery.
Executive session.
Mr. President, I move that the Board of Education go into executive session for 15 minutes for the purpose of preliminary discussions about the acquisition of real property in order to protect the and bargaining positions, beginning at 9:05. We do it 9:05. And that's Board of Education being into open session at 9:20 in the board meeting room. I'd like to invite Dr. Dominguez, Josh Guyman, Tone, and Jessica Northern to join us in executive session.
Moved and seconded for executive session. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your left hand. Opposed, same. Motion carries.